This is the X&C Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Gaz, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, X&C Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox newscast.
Now? Should we go now, Gaz? Should we go now?
Yeah. Yes!
Oh! Oh, I got a DM. Hold on.
Is it Jason Schreier?
How's everybody doing? It's Sunday X&C. I'm here with my good friend and excellent co-host and Gaz. As I say, Colteastwood and Gaz.
Yeah.
And Gaz.
And Gaz made it.
How's everybody doing today? Welcome. Over 100 people here checking us out. It is the X&C Podcast. This is an industry informational, gaming-related, Xbox-centric podcast with my co-host from Game On Daily. Gaz, how are you doing, buddy? It's not as late as usual. I want to do something early since tomorrow, if you're in the U.S., it's 4th of July.
I think your mic
not on?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
There it is.
Oh, gosh. Is that better?
That's much better. Wow.
Okay.
Jeez. That's like
Just
4K.
gotta stay close to it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's turned. That's why. There we go. Is that better?
I thought it was the mic, but something was wrong with it. But yeah.
Oh, no. Thank you for, Gaz will be our technical support for today. If you need any help with your computer, just message Gaz at 555. Just keep hitting the button 5 and you'll get through. And that'll be Gaz. No, thank you. I was actually going to say, I feel it's been a couple weeks before I say, Gaz, how you doing? It's been a couple weeks since I've made content. I didn't do the podcast. We didn't do it last week. So my mic sat over there. Who knows what happened to it? It was crazy. It wasn't in use, but thank you, Gaz. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. The Sunday show. This is a bit of a weird one, but I like it. I'm more energy now that it's in non-vampire times, but I'm ready to get into it. What are you going to do? What are you going to talk about today, Cole? Because we had a struggle on Go Live yesterday, but there's still some stuff to talk about, but I have no idea. By the way, chat, he never tells me what the topics are. We just come in fresh. Just literally fresh off the boat. Here we are.
Yeah, it's good that way, actually. You would think there wasn't a lot to talk about, but there is a lot to cover today, and especially since you put out an excellent video.
Yeah,
an excellent video about things are rough. We'll cover that. But if you think you'll have a good time, if you think the Gaz and I couldn't provide a good show, it should be fairly short today. But hit the like button to show your support. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And Gaz, I really do feel like I got to break the rust off. It's really strange. A little bit nervous, but.
What?
No. I do feel a little. It just does feel strange. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm talking to myself in here. It's just Gaz and I having a conversation. We do have a lot to talk about. I'll give you kind of a rundown. We're going to talk about what's going on with Xbox and some stuff related to Starfield. Phil Spencer speaking up about what's going on and what's going on with some of the Xbox games. I want to keep it kind of vague because it's really, really a pretty cool list of stuff to talk about. And
okay.
And since it's a Sunday, if you're in the U.S., 4th of July is tomorrow. That's a U.S. holiday, and everyone's going to be busy. We'll all be busy. So I thought, hey, guys, let's just do a short show on a Sunday afternoon. We won't keep you up super late. And we'll also, next week, if available, I think Gaz should be available. We're going to do the show a couple hours early next week. I have somebody coming by to check out the show and be on with us. And I'll talk about that as we get closer and get all the details ironed out. But I'm super happy. Let me do a quick shout out to the channel veterans and Patreons, members, and people who supported the show and the podcast. It means so much that when I read your name, it really means a lot that I do read your name for me anyway. I hope it means the same for you. But we've got Raiden Blade, Ricky Falon, Zener White, Poochie, Wolf Assassin, DeBlue, Devario 2 Gaming, Fault Lines, Wreak Havocs, Fox Storytelling, Rodney Coots, Gaz, Dark CMF, Betamax, Dante Moody, Alex Wilson, Lord Starkiller, Robert Jackson, Gamer McFly, Assassin Lupa. I hope she's doing really well. They've been reaching out and talking about how she's been going through some troubles at home with her health, and hopefully, I mean, if I know Lupa, she's going to be back, but give your special wishes out to her. Yeah. Yes, for sure. Nano Polymyth, Hargeet Chani, good friend. All these people are really good friends. I say it's every week, but they really are. We talk to these people as much as possible because they're so fun. TK Chillin, Larry Thatcher, Dubs, V Simcoe, Suicide King, Udana Kzada, one of my great mods, Phil KY Bob, William Lanza, and Matt Burns. So yeah, Kaz, thank you for letting me take care of the business and whatnot and essentials and what have you. So let's get into some gaming talk, right?
Let's do it.
Well, let me ask you, what have you been playing? Because I know you and I have been bouncing around to some very interesting games. Like, if I'm about to ask you what to play, you kind of might have an interesting story or two.
Well, I mean, I'm all over the place thanks to Quick Resume. So I played Fall Guys for the first time. It was hilarious. Played it with Dealer and Zorka. That was hilarious. I was terrible at the game. Played that. I played earlier. Actually, I have to give a shout out to a game I thought was pretty crap. It was Call of Duty Vanguard, but the zombies mode in that, I've been playing that with Dealer, and that's actually a lot of fun. If you haven't checked it out, dude, I never liked zombies. Never liked zombies mode. Always more of an Infinity Ward versus Treyarch fan, and I just thought it was a bit weak. No, this one's actually a lot of fun. I'm very surprised by how. It was good. I've been playing also Death's Door. Finally got to play that. Need to beat the witch, beat the other. I won't spoilers actually, Frog, but the final. I don't know what the story is. I'm playing Death's Door. There's so many. You know what? I want to play Guardians of the Galaxy. I want to finish Red Dead Redemption 2. Man, what's wrong with me? Cyberpunk. I went far on PC. I'm playing back on Xbox. I'll be playing. Bro, yeah, Quick Resume is a problem because I have ADHD and I can't focus on one game. But it's amazing. I can't go back to. In fact, I've stopped playing Apex Legends because of it. Because I just blew up I don't know. As you get older, I love PC gaming. I love mostly multiplayer, but I'm changing things up. Hunt Showdown. Oh, I need to get back on that as well.
Oh my gosh, you've been playing a crap ton of stuff.
Yeah,
I have 5 or 6 games in Quick Resume that I've been bouncing back and forth. One of the games we're going to talk about briefly today in relation is I got you to try a little bit of No Man's Sky, and I'm going to show a little bit of that footage today when we talk about Starfield. But it's been really I guess if you're all here listening to the show, and thank you for doing that. If you are, you know about Quick Resume. So I guess you're preaching to the choir, but you just come back to a game and it's right where you left it, like in the pause menu. And multiple games. It's unbelievable. They need to fix things with games that need to continually connect to a server, whether they're single player or not, which is annoying. But that
is a problem. But yeah, it's a good problem. And you're right, E2. I need to just avoid playing too many games and just stick to 3, finish those 3. And it's annoying. So I need to do that. Feel like I'm not getting anywhere. But yeah. But there's a lot of good games there. Not AAA first-party games, but a lot of good games. Well, not new ones this way.
You guys said something on your show yesterday. It feels weird to say yesterday when I'm on my show. But yesterday you did go live and you had Erica on and you had Quest on.
Josh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Josh on. And you guys talked about big open world games. And I wanted to ask in the chat, so maybe I'll ask this chat and you, what are the chances that the open world action adventure game, like Ubisoft style game, is going to become so passé and so out of style that, like, why chase it anymore? Like, you know how Xbox is, like, everyone's saying Xbox needs a big open world game. How long do you have left before this formula is already tired? Because Josh was explaining that Horizon Forbidden West, just like, I already did this already. And I felt the same way. I put like 5 hours in the game. I don't even think I'm going back. And I completed the other one to like all the way through. So
I hope we see the end of that. I see the death of that Ubisoft formula of games, because last gen and in some of it this gen, it led to a lot of, in my opinion, lazy design in terms of core gaming structure. It wasn't fluid enough. It was just hit you. It was basically a listing exercise, and that's what you had to contend with. And became even Forza Horizon. Although Forza Horizon is just so many events, it's amazing. Actually, races don't do do it like that. But even the next Forza, I'd like them to think outside the box a little bit, not make it look like a list exercise. So I hope that developers are starting to eke out this or move away from that kind of formula. I hope we see the end of it. And you can see critically, when you're developing a game as game devs, you will see that a lot of critics are starting to bemoan the use of games off that formula. So I hope we saw that. I saw that very early on, and like early last gen, it's like this is becoming really formulaic. And I know there's an audience out there that will probably like that kind of game. I think Fonz really likes that. Fonz really likes that kind of game, and that's
I do too. Well, I mean, I'm sure we all have our favorite. Like when you're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, how it copied Assassin's Creed, but it did Assassin's Creed better than some of their games. And you just think about how, when I think back on how games have evolved, like the different genres that are super popular, like point and click used to be super, super popular. Then the really, the Doom, Wolfenstein, first person shooters were super popular. And then that kind of went away. Then the open world game became a thing during the 360 PS3 era. It's just something to think about. It's a good question. It's a good question.
Well, Ghost of Tsushima is a good example because it doesn't make you feel like it. Maybe perhaps that's why a game can perhaps conceal the listing nature of it better is what, because ultimately that's what games are.
I mean, that I loved Ghost of Tsushima, and I think I played Horizon Zero Dawn a year before that. I played it kind of late. I got to it like a year after it came out. And so I didn't feel that fatigue, but once I got to Forbidden West, but regarding Xbox, they don't really have one of those open world check off list games in their trajectory.
They don't need to.
Maybe they don't need to. Like
when people say they want a superhero string, single, in terms of like, if you compare like competitively, Xbox would do well to have a single player linear game, even like Hellblade, but more of that. Fine. Open world game that could be good is a superhero game to counter the likes of Spider-Man and presumably Wolverine.
What about Perfect Dark being like a mostly linear, big, City of Egypt, right? How was it described? It was described like a John Wick style. What was the other word? Not Perfect Dark. Zero Dark 30. Like it's got a Zero Dark 30 for those of you who watched the movie, where it's like very GoPro centric the way it shows the game or the movie. I don't know. Yeah. Like these are just different things, and I'd hate to see a company chase trends that are long in the tooth. Let me move forward with that because that's super crazy. Here is an interesting. Let me grab a couple supers. And I'm going to read the topic shorthand to you guys, and I'm going to see if you can take it from there. But Bone Dead Fossil 48, thank you for the $2 super. He says, "Let's go," and we did. We're 2 minutes late. Thank you for putting up with us as we sit here. Everyone, Gaz has been working up to the moment we went live on his next video, so we're going to talk about that toward the end of the show, and maybe a little bit in the middle when we get into the related stuff. I'm excited about that. Web Dave from the Outbreak Podcast says that the interview I did with him will drop on the 4th of July, so that's tomorrow. Thank you. I had a really good time. I don't know if you're into this stuff, but he asked me a lot of personal questions about where I've worked, what jobs I've held, and how I got into gaming and YouTube. And there's some weird stories that are there's a couple embarrassing ones in there. So give that a listen if you're, chilling.
Check out Outbreak Podcast, guys. Great guy.
Yeah, very great. Thank you, guys. Hey, Blinken, which is a great name when I say it out loud. Thank you so much for the $10. He says, Colt, make sure you call it Independence Day with Gaz. Don't call it the 4th of July.
I know what 4th of July is. I spent it in America for you 2-3 just before COVID in Vegas. God, Americans know how to party.
You couldn't be any more American than that.
Oh, it was insane. Please. Next year, I'm coming to America. Independence Day, Vegas. I'm there.
And E3 all in one shot.
Yeah.
All right, here's the first topic of the day. You beautiful people watching the XNC podcast. Thank you, everybody who's here. Well, we got 500 people here watching the show. Shout out to the chat and everybody. I'm going to start Gaz off with our first topic, which is Digital Foundry. I love your faces you make. Digital Foundry says Xbox better. Do you know what the buzz has been going on this one, Gaz?
Yeah, I saw this. Dealer also retweeted this earlier, and basically it's about I think is it not John Linneman? Which is the guy? Who's the guy who's John Linneman, the PlayStation fan? No, he's been getting pressure from a lot of the community, and it's just like, and it feels. I mean, they report hard numbers. I do think John Linneman is a PlayStation guy. He has said things before, and he's a numbers guy. He's got preference for PlayStation. It feels like because they deal with these hard numbers objectivity, that preference then just gets weaponized or enhanced a bit too much in conversation.
To be fair, John is a retro. He cares way more about retro games or retro leaning games, even if they're modern, than he does about PlayStation. But to his credit, let me set up to his credit. Yeah, to his credit, Xbox was having a really rough few years.
Yeah.
Right. But go ahead.
He's not a pony. So John Linneman, I love the Digital Foundry crew, all of them, and people. All
John
of them
is super talented. Like his
all
production. Yeah,
they're all really talented. And basically, what happened was he just had to announce or display the fact that more Xbox games have actually won the comparisons as the ones that he's done for the channel on Digital Foundry as far as technical prowess of the two consoles are concerned. Quite a few draws and obviously some losses, but which is interesting. I saw a lot of Xbox guys celebrate that as you would in the whole console war thing. But to me, and you guys are going to hate me for this, but to me, I don't think that's a massive win because the divide should be much bigger. And once these, I think we're starting to see that now. Xbox and the tools have become a bit of a meme, but if that's to be believed, and I don't know anymore, but the raw power, it should definitely be better. There's no reason why Xbox should be left behind or as close as it is to PlayStation at the moment. That divide is going to get bigger as time goes on. But so John Linneman had to feel compelled because of console wars. And you know what? He says he doesn't like console wars. I'm sure they don't. But at the same time, Digital Foundry 100,000% benefits massively from the console wars. They wouldn't change it. They would not change it for anything because that's what pays their bills. Let's be honest. But I love those guys, and it'll be interesting to see how. By the way, because me and my brother's a bit of a pony. Me and him have arguments all the time.
I know.
So can you imagine Xbox versus PlayStation all the time? But I was arguing with him, and I was there was a point to be made. I was saying, okay, name me one. It's so sad to say this. Name me one multiplayer.
This is a real life argument with your brother, like in the house,
it went
like not on Twitter.
2 hours. It went for 2 hours and just stopped. It was like the point. Basically, I asked him this. It's like, name how many true fully next gen multi-platform games are there now? 0.
Oh, nice question.
There's 0. Which is kind of crazy, though. We're 2 years in.
I mean, is that true? I would think there's got to be hardly any.
Name me one true next-gen multi-platform game that's available on both consoles.
Oh, multi-platform. Shoot.
Like that you can compare the Xbox to PlayStation 2.
I guess chat, help us out here. Think about all the. I mean, there might be some small game, but let's keep it to the mainstream, like well-known, popular, maybe even big. Like I'm sure there's some small game that missed Xbox One and PS4 due to development issues or development restraints or whatever, right? So Gaz, your question is what multi-plat has come out that is Xbox Series or PS5 only? Is that what you're saying? Next gen only?
Yeah, next gen only game, not cross gen.
And Splinterverse says Alan Wake, but I'll just move the goalpost again and say let's skip the remasters or the remakes because those, you know what I mean? Like you got to, because the whole argument's always about built from the ground up to right?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing. There's nothing there really.
The medium, I guess the medium's a multi-plat now. Yeah, I mean, there really isn't any.
I don't know.
I mean, there's a couple exclusives that were made exclusively for just the new console, like Returnal in the chat and Dark Souls, which is a remake. Not Demon Souls, sorry. I mean, it really comes down. Yeah, Flight Sim is one.
I mean, I'm talking to multiplats. There's only apart from the medium, and I don't know which console fares better there.
And Reggie Lee's in chat saying that there's probably some coming, like Gotham Knights will be one of the first.
Oh, of course.
So I think you're right. Like all in all, probably.
Yeah, these are games coming out as of now. The only example I can see is medium.
Chat, Gaz, this normal. This is normal. Like the first couple years, you don't see a lot of like mind-blowing reveals.
Generally, there is a crossover period. Like if you go back to last gen, but then you still had true next gen games coming very quick. The silicon shortage has made things a lot worse, and to the point where I can't even see. There was always, even last gen, a tipping point where you said, "Okay, enough 360, enough PlayStation 3." We're not seeing that this gen because I don't know when that finishing line is going to be. It's going to be a transition that's going to be stretched out. And I will say this, PlayStation is suffering madly with the stock shortage. They're getting killed in Japan. PlayStation's getting killed so bad in Japan. What does that mean for games like Spider-Man 2 or God of War? Spider-Man 2 is supposed to be a PS5 exclusive. Is PlayStation
Can I throw a wrench in there?
Yeah.
Is Spider-Man 2 going to take place in the same city we already played in 2 games?
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me. But we saw some of they showed a CGI-ish cutscene thing. Like you can glean the location from that chat if you kind of know. But ultimately, it's going to be very close. I'm not saying it's going to deride the quality of it, but very close sequel because that's what they're doing. They did that with Horizon. They'll did that with Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2 will do that. God of War is going to do that as well. They built these engines. They're going to try and churn out these games as best they can.
And I don't think COVID is a reason. I'm not even going to use the word excuse. I don't think COVID is a reason why next generation games haven't come out yet because those games are in development for 4 or 5 years. Like you'd be talking about being well over halfway through your development. Mic arm before before trying to keep my composure on the air. Those games would be well in development and planned and targeted for hardware long before COVID became a problem, but the delays definitely. But it is interesting.
Unfortunate symptom. It's happening everywhere, and I really hate it because when I buy a next gen console, I want to play next gen games. And I haven't been able to really do that. Let's be honest. Apart from PlayStation, but yeah, just a bit lame.
We kind of went off the rails, but I don't know if there's much more. No, I think we all do this together. The whole
2 of us
Xbox
with ADHD is a bad idea. We always need a third.
We need a mediator with 2 ADHD guys in here. We'll change it to the ADHD podcast. And shout out to people who shout out to any of you that deal with something like ADD, but having a phone is like a total poison for not having a good attention span. Yeah,
that's the worst. That's the worst.
Hey, but you know what? I think we've persevered. Those of you who deal with different difficulties, hey, we've made it this far, and give yourself a pat on the back. But the whole thing about the about Digital Foundry saying that the Xbox is performing better, and you were talking about the tools aren't even being used. Dealer covered that really well in his tweet. He said that they're not even using any of the RDNA 2 architecture, not using any of the advanced features, and it's strictly right now you're seeing what should be expected is the physics-based part. You got this frequency, you've got this many gigahertz or whatever, and this is why the games run a little bit better on the Xbox.
Look at Forza Motorsport, the new one. It's doing things leagues ahead of its competition. You know, Gran Turismo 7 is a cross-gen game, whatever, but it's doing it so well that even Alex Battaglia from Digital Foundry had to go in and ask and say, hey, how is Xbox doing this? How is Xbox doing real-time ray tracing like this and to such proficiency?
Can you fix Fahim Scott's comment? He said, it's funny how you all love Digital Foundry again. I've always liked Digital Foundry. Always.
And when do you see me deride Digital Foundry? In fact, actually, I will do it now. I will call out Digital Foundry on one thing. Alex Battaglia said that, and I actually agree with him.
And we were about to. We were about to, Gas. Go ahead.
If you ever think, whatever. Alex Battaglia said that Forza Motorsport was misleading in far as they have two sets of trailers. You have the gameplay running through the single cam, and they showed off all that stuff. And then there was this sizzle reel, and they came out and said, "Hey, this is a sizzle reel that's not in-game running through."
Yeah.
And he took issue with just the fact that the trailer did say in-game footage, and he said that was a bit misleading. And obviously, the PlayStation fanboys ran with that. And I want to say, yo, Alex, everyone at Digital Foundry, where was that energy with Gran Turismo 7? Because they showed off that game. Same thing with ray tracing on. The game doesn't even have ray tracing in race. And ray tracing, I think, is relegated to 30 frames. What? No. So, like, no one does it better than them. Forgive me if my knowledge is lacking as far as technical. I will bow down to their technical knowledge. But there's that to be said.
Also, why are you doubting Turn 10? You already watched them showcase Forza Motorsport 7 on a 1X. They claimed native 4K 60. They were incredulous of that back then. They delivered it on an Xbox One X, and now they're saying we're going to strive for 4K 60 with ray tracing. Well, we know that they're going to dynamically scale the resolution, but you're still going to get reflective surfaces, a dynamic 4K frame buffer, and 60 frames. Like, what? Why would you think Turn 10 couldn't make it happen? They already know what's inside the Xbox Series X. And like, as Faheem's like, you guys love Digital Foundry. It's like, yeah, I really like them. And I should have said earlier, I really like Alex Battaglia. In fact,
I trust their numbers. I trust their analysis.
I do too.
I never doubt their analysis. I may have some comments about their comments or their interpretation of the numbers, because fine, then they bring the non-objective element to it and perhaps talk about other things. But as far as the numbers go,
I've always liked Linneman, Battaglia,
throwing shade at Digital Foundry. Well, obviously that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But generally, just like
Sony shouldn't be underestimated. Like they didn't deliver with Gran Turismo 7. They have this killer PS5 hardware, and they gave you a PS4. They gave you the Gran Turismo Sport 2.0. That's basically what it is. That's why I didn't buy it. It's what it is.
Gran Turismo 7, whenever a Gran Turismo game before Sport came out, people paid attention, because visually it was always a stunner. It's like Gran Turismo will come out, it's going to blow us away. It did not even do that in its launch trailer. Everyone's like, oh, okay. It looks nice, I guess. But Forza Horizon 5 did it to the point where PlayStation fanboys thought it was fake footage. Forza Motorsport did it all over again. And they did it quite comprehensively with the showing. And that made everyone ask, how is it possible? Alex Battaglia asked that question. Yeah. And the interesting part is we're finally seeing variable rate shading possibly being employed in this, because that's how he says that the res is taking a hit. It's dynamic and multiple. Great. Thank you. Please. No, I don't care about native 4K anymore. Like, that thing has been sold to us so much as a symptom of last gen, mid gen consoles. Get rid of that. Get us all these features. Ray tracing is great. Employ that somewhere else. I'd rather, I know what you're thinking. It's like, not ray tracing. Don't kill performance for ray tracing. I think, and I'll agree with you there. Like he's going to his funeral. Cole looking like a snack.
You know what's crummy, Gaz? Polyphonies makes the first next generation racer on the PS5, and the PS5 is super, super powerful in the way that it was designed. It's doing really amazing stuff for how those frequencies are and the power setup in the PS5, and they still, and not in my opinion, in everyone's opinion, in the whole of the majority of the internet thinks that Gran Turismo 7 does not look like a next generation racer, and it definitely doesn't seem to act like one. So
I see a lot of fanboys on the Twitter going overtime, really straining themselves, say, hey, look at the lighting, look at this. It's like everyone's thinking, that doesn't look that good.
Well,
okay.
I don't want to turn
crap on Polyphony Digital there, by the way. But
Right.
they were there taking notes, and Forza Motorsport 2 was coming out. They need to sit
Turn
back on the
10's been
drawing
taking
board.
their lunch for a decade.
Hey,
but
yeah.
And one of the things that Gran Turismo Sport did way better than Forza Motorsport in the visual department was the glowing volumetric light that kind of hazed across the cars that I always thought made it look so sweet. But Forza Horizon 5 and Forza Motorsport are doing this now. But they did it 5 years ago. So kudos to them, and we'll move on, guys. Xbox better. Am I right? Huh?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe not.
Hey, we love you guys. Biff Rinaldi with a $2 super. Thank you, Biff. Says, evening, gentlemen. Gonna be a great show. You have to do the there we go. Gaz called me right before the show, and he was on his mic with the effects, and he played. He did a live rendition of what's going to be in his sauce video. We'll talk toward the end of the show.
Hello.
I can't wait.
And that's all I'm saying.
That's all I'll say.
It's a messy one. It was messy. Phil Spencer, if you're watching this, just don't judge me. But it's going to be really bad. It's really bad.
Cover it.
Really good, but
it's really good.
Very risky.
But really bad.
It's comedy. Tickets for adults.
Flame with a $5. Thank you, Flame. Says, okay, it was cute at first, but let's stop saying Gotham Knights is next gen. It's a PS3, Xbox 360 title. Let's keep it real. Also, hi, Colt, and happy 4th, guys.
He's kind of right in the sense that it doesn't scream next gen, but I respect the developers for taking the risk and going all in next gen. The button is on them to show what they said is like, we don't want to be hindered by last gen. Yeah. They don't want to be hindered by last gen gameplay. Yeah, but last gen hardware, but then it's like, all right, what is it that Gotham Knights is doing that wasn't possible last gen? For you to forsake
it works.
For you
it
to
works
forsake
the other way
that
around.
market, by the way. Yeah.
I mean, that's money. That's money at stake, especially on the PlayStation side where they can't get a hold of a next generation console. Thank you, Flame, for that, because I forgot. I didn't think about when I read that they cut off the Xbox One and PS4 generation, which is losing money but saving them some development time. So I'm assuming they think it's worth it.
Yeah. That's it's a bold move. Look, I respect them because I'm so sick of cross-gen, but the funny thing is the game that seems to be leading the charge and multiplat isn't actually that visually next-gen. It doesn't scream next-gen at all, really, to me, barring some visual effects here and there. And that's not an easy decision for them to make because ultimately we've been told back time and time again the audience is in cross-gen at the moment because of the silicon shortage and no one's getting their hands on next-gen consoles. But if they're doing that,
I don't know. I just don't think it works that way. I think you get so far into a game and you're like, let's just deliver a great game, and who cares if it breaks ground? Oh my gosh, it just made my glasses worse. Who cares if it breaks ground like with technology, right? We need to like Gotham Knights needs to be a good, fun game, and people looking at it, I don't think they're so much worried about. No, who cares? I don't think they're so much worried about if the game is completely next gen, will blow their face off with next gen features. Like the game, it just doesn't look amazing. Am I right?
It doesn't. It also looks rough in bits as well. But I actually think in terms of gameplay, the game could be a lot of fun in co-op. But it doesn't scream like if you're gonna ask me based on what we've seen so far, I'd say it would be 82 Metacritic.
That's pretty generous. I mean, I hope I enjoy it. When I'm playing an amazing, like Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't a next generation game, it's just a really good game, and really that's all you should care about.
That. I want to really.
You do need to play it.
Because then I go party chat, then you can't play. Anyway, sorry.
All right, here's the next little tidbit I had to add last minute. The Xbox handheld. The handheld. There is a whole big mess about people swearing that an Xbox handheld is on the way. Some people saying that it's not possible. Others saying we don't need it. There's actually a big, strong divide, guys. Lead us into what's going on with.
We don't need anything in the gaming space of need. But it seems like there's a lot of noise there. I don't know where it's coming from, but an Xbox handheld seems to be making its way. It would make sense. I'm sure Microsoft would want to do it. It feels weird, though. it feels at odds with their drive to go all cloud-based because they're so committed to the power of the cloud. Then surely you would not necessarily need something in a mobile device. I get it, internet speeds, barring some countries, aren't up to snuff, but ultimately, a local, like the Steam Deck is dank. This thing is a source. Look how big and chunky it is. But
I got to see this. Hold on. There's a delay on my end. I'm watching.
Sorry, I put it in there right now.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good
Wipe
though.
the dust off it.
So you're
really
like,
good.
yeah. Bring it over here and I'll wipe it with my glasses.
Yeah, no, it's just really
that's
good.
Why, guys. You're like, what's all the noise about a handheld? That's the reason.
Is my Steam Deck broken, people, for who has it? Because I hold it down, it doesn't work. I have to double tap, really. It doesn't work anymore. Okay, my Steam Deck's broken.
On, you mean?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, sorry, I want to take up the show with my broken Steam Deck. Oh, it's working. This is
$530 down the pube.
Modal. Yeah, it's not cheap, but this feels like what an Xbox should be. Look at the sound. Listen to the sounds.
Put the screen up on the camera again.
Yeah, so here we go.
Look at Steam. That's so cool.
The sound, everything is smooth. Oh, by the way, Severed Steel, you need to try it. Thing is, I've been playing Sonic Mania, which isn't hardly the next gen. So something, but I see my little brother's been on it, and he's downloaded loads of games. Perfect. That's his Steam account, though.
I think that's why the handheld conversation is like, where's our superhero game? Now it's like, where's our handheld? And there's people that are pretty adamant that they could just take the Series S and make it into a handheld.
Nah, they could definitely do it. They should do it. Xbox definitely do it. I would buy it 100%. Yeah, it's so chunky, and it needs to be like this. It needs to be, or get Game Pass to run on it locally. I guess it has to. Apparently there are two models. I don't know. I'm just hearing this is the rumor mill, so forgive me if whatever. I'm going by it. There's a cloud-based thing and there's a local one. They're two different type models. Apparently, if you believe any of this to be true, I would not be interested in the cloud-based one because my mobile should be doing that. But I don't know. That's just,
so
what do you think, chat?
One of the sources is saying that it is physically impossible to put the Series S components into any more of a compact configuration as it is now. Right now, for those of you, I would think this would be a universal measurement. The Series S is about as big as a clean Xbox. Pretty close. Now, if you think about a clean Xbox, it is about this thick, and that's what a Series S is, right? So to ask them to crunch it down and get an LCD or LED display in there, or an OLED or whatever, is asking a lot. Plus, the heat sink and the power supply are I would say, from my looking at the hardware specs and the guts of the Series S and X, the heat sink and power supply alone make it so difficult to make a handheld. And there's also a couple competitors coming up that look pretty good. Linus Tech Tips talked about the Neximo or something like that. I showed it to you and you're like, what? But
that looks sick. That looks crazy. More competition, the better, but I've paid a lot of money for this. I won't be able to afford anything for a while. But good. Xbox, try it. Let's see what you can do.
I mean, Xbox doesn't, it's not like they don't want to make a handheld because they can get a ton of customers. It's just, if you use a phone or a tablet, right, guys, like you have to worry about your data. And someone's like, well, everyone has unlimited data. It's like, it doesn't work that way. Later in the month, they throttle you. They throttle your speed because you're using a certain amount of data, even though it's unlimited. And
I want Xbox
not
to
everybody
push
has
the cloud
5G.
thing. But if Xbox does do a local based handheld, I really think that will take away their incentive and drive to get this cloud tech right and the latency issues right. They're making a lot of strides, and I think, what's his name? You've had that chap on before, with the funny smile. Brad Sams. He's a really nice guy.
With the what?
He smiles weird. He's cool. He's a cool guy. But yeah, Brad Sams is like. That sounds like he's like you smiles. He smiles like I would smile when in the school, like photographs for college, like smiling. You're like the Nacho Libre smile. I don't know why. That's such a random thought. This is my ADHD. But Brad Sams also did I don't know if he did the video, but he shared this comparison thing of the latency. What you looking? Why are you sitting like you're on the toilet?
I was trying to do the awkward smile when you're when they went to take your picture.
Like you're straining there like you're on the toilet or something. No,
this whole room is a toilet sometimes when I'm making videos.
That's horrible. Yeah, so Brad Sams did this, shared this thing where they were showing the strides in input latency in the cloud tech, and I really want Xbox just to go all in, because I really do believe, like Hoggy Channy, if he's there somewhere, I know he watches a million shows, is that cloud tech is the future. I do really think that, unless we all kill each other in the way the world is going, internet infrastructure should improve. Then yeah, that's Xbox focus on that.
It improves exponentially. xCloud was launched like in beta form 3 years ago, 2019, and it kind of worked pretty decently then. So I don't use it much, but apparently in a few months from now in my city there'll be full 5G, like actual 5G. I've got my wireless network here set up for 5G, for like the proper Wi-Fi, well, not Wi-Fi 5 or 6 or whatever it's called. Sorry. I've got that all set up. So, but I mean, I don't know. It's for different people. But you're right.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think cloud's going to go somewhere else. All right. Well, let's just get this out of the way, guys. Let's God of War, Ragnarok. God of War. Well, we'll start here. According to morons, God of War is more popular than Starfield. Did you see this tweet?
Red Dragon?
The Google Trends said that the phrase God of War is more searched in a greater number than the word Starfield. And
my God. I mean, it's such a stupid thing. That and my source video, just a heads up, is about this absolute insecurity that people have, that's caused by Forza. Xbox didn't even have a good show. They only showed Forza, Starfield, and Redfall, and those Starfield and Forza in particular caused so much anguish to these PlayStation fanboys because they looked so good. So comparisons to Starfield, a new IP, to God of War, and your search term, as you quite correctly highlighted, just God of War, legacy of God knows what, 15 years? How long has that been in the works for? And, you know, Starfield's a new IP. You're going to compare it to that? I saw people comparing the graphics.
God of War Ragnarok, how long's that been in the works? Like almost 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. But we've just
seen a 17-18 year franchise. That was one of the things that I replied to Red Dragon before. I think I just blocked him that week. I was like, I'm done with him. And Fahim in the chat says, why they got to be morons? Sorry, I meant nimrods. That's what I meant to say.
But,
you know?
I mean,
yeah, idiot, moron, dork. What do you want me to use?
On Twitter, there's this game people play for clout, and then just want to be really just abrasive and loud and stuff. And you know what? I said go for it, because you're giving me free material to satirize and make the source videos, because I pray, I'm so grateful you say these stupid things, because that just gives me more ammo. But you know, at the same time, whilst you can benefit from all the clout you do get, you should really get clapped a few pegs down for those stupid things that you say. And Starfield comparisons don't just stop at Google popularity. You've got comparisons with Horizon Forbidden West and the character models between the two. Like, oh, look at this. And Horizon, Sony quality versus Xbox quality, and Horizon versus Starfield. Shall we compare the breadth of the world, or the mechanics in that game, or the lines of dialogue, or the scope of it, or customizable bases, ships? What game on PlayStation comes close to what Starfield is doing? Nothing comes close. Nothing comes close to that. That's the thing. And so you're going to get embarrassed. You should be asking for... Xbox guys are quite... Let's be honest. We have all said it. Xbox should have that one game. Like PlayStation, their third-person games, they maybe one and done, whatever. The quality's there. We should have some of that. If these hardcore fanboys were true to themselves, they would admit, they're like, we need something from a studio, from PlayStation's first party, that can churn this out, or try and work on something of this scale.
where is it going to go next? Like, I really felt like this was the ultimate, illustration of goalposts moving, where Starfield showed really well. They showed 15 long minutes, which I expected
Looked
3
amazing.
in my prediction. It looks like a massive game. People are worried about the visuals and other things that we're going to get into later when we talk about just Starfield. There's some other stuff to talk about with there, but this is the ultimate goalpost move to say, well, Starfield's doing really well. It's really popular. We know it's coming out in the spring or summer, and God of War is more popular. God of War is more popular trend and worldwide searches. And I said, well, why don't you use God of War Ragnarok as a search trend compared to Starfield? Yeah. Starfield has only been a thing for a few years. God of War has been a thing. The phrase God of War has been the thing for 17 plus years. But it's just that where are they going to move the goalposts next? It will never end.
It will never end. The goalposts will keep moving, and fine, let them do it. Just make
so here comes the reward, guys. Someone very important replied to Red Dragon and sat him down. I don't know if you watched. I think I sent it to you when it happened.
Oh,
somebody replied to Red Dragon.
Yeah, not the Corey Balrog of all people just sat him down and just said, I'm very excited for this. He's going to take time off work just to play that game. And it's just kind of pie in the face moment where you're trying to really just crap on Starfield. And then the creator of the game that you're propping up against it comes back and says, no, I'm really excited for it. As you should be. Corey Balrog, not Balrog. he's not the Street Fighter character. Yeah, thank you. What's up?
Isn't that the creature that almost killed Gandalf, the Balrog?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of Balrog from.
I just finished the Harry Potter series last night. Chat. Total sidebar, but last night we watched the last one. I am a super old guy. I finally actually watched the Harry Potter movies. Yeah. Never read the books, and pretty cool. But Lord of the Rings
it's
better.
Good. I read the books a lot, but I don't remember anything about the books. My memory's terrible, but they were good at the time.
Cool. A lot better than I thought it would be.
It gets better as the movies get better, more mature. The first few are really like childish, and then they mature.
So here's the thing, guys. Like God of War, so glad that they tipped it on its head in 2018 and made like a totally new game. It wasn't hack and slash. It was like your visceral third-person action adventure game. But Starfield is sort of a new thing, and we could talk about No Man's Sky in a little bit, like how people say, well, it's just No Man's Sky, but there are literally thousands of games, thousands of mainstream games, and Starfield is among very few that do what they do in this type of this series, especially with the way Bethesda has interaction and immersion and RPG elements, like that perfect Western RPG thing. We'll get into that, but Corey, now I don't even know how to say his name. You got me messed up. Corey Barlog got him good. And of course, I thought he probably felt like it was okay. He was just expressing excitement, but that was his way to pour cold water over the moronic idiocy. Let me read a super chat that actually relates to that from Hargeet Chani, my good friend, with the $5 super. He says, isn't it expected that God of War would be more searched? We're still looking for a dang release date. Starfield is next year. Well, we're still looking for that release date for Starfield, but who would have thought that a sequel would take 5 years? Sequels typically take 2 to 3 years. So they're really doing something big on that game, I think.
That and the combination of COVID impacting the development. If we can believe Hoggy's extra 1 year, right, Hoggy? Then that's the reason. Him. Yeah, I don't even just believe him. I don't know why I'm saying it that way. But yeah, absolutely. That's the case. It's the one thing I admire about Studio Santa Monica with this God of War and Corey Barlog. So why is it so hard now?
We'll get into that later too.
Yeah, the fact that they're wrapping it up. Not God of War completely, but that the mythology. What's it? What is that? My brain's dead. Yeah, so they're ending that mythology. They're here because they said we can't wait, and I completely understand. Every 5 years to wrap up a trilogy, it doesn't make sense. Let's just end it now. So they're gonna go really hard with God of War. I hope they do, and Ragnarok will be an incredible. I have no doubts about in Ragnarok. The only I have no doubts about Ragnarok. I think it'll fix the problems of the first one with the lack of enemy variety and stuff. Some things became a bit copy and paste.
Well, now they've got a killer formula. They just have to capitalize on it, and
they will.
I feel the same way. One of the developers said something like the things they're doing, like, oh my gosh, the things we're doing with this game. So you've already got a great foundation. What is it? Sifo Poetic X Initiative. Thank you for the $5. Says, I think this is all coming from a Microsoft device that has a slot for the Series S and X SSD, not an Xbox, but more like a Steam Deck. I don't know. We are looking into the handheld thing, but I think Gaz might be onto something. I think that cloud gaming on your own screen where you want is the future, not a bespoke device.
I'm not saying I wouldn't like one. I definitely would buy one, but I think Xbox really need to focus on getting that tech right. And if they really do believe in it, and I do agree with their belief, the tech is heading that way, then go for it. Because I played Crackdown 3 on my mobile mostly, and I completed it because of that. Oh man, it was laggy. There was a lot of input because I was on the tube home, on the train home. Wow. But even then it was like sometimes you'd forget the latency.
xCloud launched, you completed the game on a phone?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
And and I had the Razer, not the Kishi, the Nargo, when the first one came out. That was a bit too expensive in my opinion, but it clamped to the side of your mobile, and people thought it looked like a Switch. It looked like a Switch, yeah. And people were like, I had people come up to me and go, "Oh, what is that?"
They're like, "What's that trash game?" They're like, "Colt Eastwood gave it a 7.8 out of 10."
I said, "Hey man, Colt Eastwood spent 100 hours playing this. Don't you dare hate this."
I did. Jigga J with the $5 super says, "Thank you, Jigga." He says, "Not interested in an Xbox handheld. I think it would be a waste of money and R&D for Microsoft." That's one of their major concerns, I think, is probably R&D.
I wouldn't worry about Microsoft's money, but yeah.
I wouldn't either. He says they just need to get games out and acquire developers. Well, they're two different teams. Jigga J, you got the teams that are working on hardware.
They're just focusing on first party.
Get us some games. Yeah. Dylan Dobbs with the $2 super. Thank you, Dylan. It says, PlayStation 2 Kratos better than the new Kratos.
A lot of people do like the old
I miss
Kratos.
hack and slash, so you don't get that anymore. I miss it.
Yeah. No, but I respect the new formula. I'm all for the new one.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I say Xbox needs something that feels like that. Welcome Toolman55 to the early access channel membership with the Joanna Dark picture. Welcome. You'll get a notification from me on the channel membership tab when I put a video out, and I better get to work on videos. Let me give a public service announcement that it's been kind of tough to get to want to make videos right now because there's been like political mess and the Xbox and some of the industry stuff, which we're kind of get into today, has been super not fun. Developers getting harassed, people treating each other poorly, games being delayed, and Cory Barlog has spoken out about one of the next thing we're going to talk about how people are treating this. Some of the major news that's been in the news cycle has not been very enjoyable at all, and it's made it difficult for me to sit here and get into production mode. So I have to apologize for that. We're going to talk about that. Splendiferous with the $2 says, Colt, you left without saying goodbye. Who was after you?
Splendiferous.
Oh, you left without saying goodbye.
What do you mean?
Did I leave a Xbox chat or something? I don't remember. Hot Grits 910. What a cool name. Thank you for the $5. Says Microsoft could just make a super budget handheld that's cloud-based for $199 and a pro version that has local installs with series performance for $600. Now that is a question because I wanted to say when you're talking about this, guys, like how important is it to be able to install your games on your device and not worry about streaming? Because that's pretty important to me. So would I want to pay $500 for a handheld or $600?
I would only pay money for the handheld if it does local gameplay. Or if we eventually reach this point where streaming is almost to the level where it should be. By the way, I want to say this very quickly. Google Stadia is a shame that thing flopped because by far that had the best streaming tech. It was so far leagues ahead of Xbox, cloud, then I played Cyberpunk on it, and the Studio Tech, Stadia Tech, obviously is dead in the water because Google just suck, but they could have made it amazing. Google, please try and do something with that tech because it was so far ahead. That was it. It was so good, Stadia, that if Xbox Cloud had that kind of latency, we'd be talking about it a lot more prominently. What have you done to the user interface? What are you doing?
I
oh, okay.
There we go.
Oh, fancy.
I was like, hey, why isn't that button working? We'll talk about that in here in a second. I never got to try Stadia, but they had great tech, but the game situation wasn't there. So, gosh,
no, it wasn't. The tech was amazing, bro. It was amazing. No Man's Sky. Wow, Sean Murray, you brought it back, haven't you? After all the controversy and you sitting there saying, yeah, you can meet other players in space, and it was a really bad thing, and you shut up. You sat there for complete silence as you built this game from the ground up. We all make mistakes, and you came back like a phoenix rising from the ashes to deliver a game that is overwhelmingly positive on Steam. What a legend. A man who shows, and this is why I love indie development. That is, this indie developers, that kind of story is just like very human. That is why I respect indie developers and Sean Murray in particular. That adversity is such a human thing, and then to overcome that to deliver a game like that. By the way, I started playing No Man's Sky. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm really there yet as far as my personal enjoyment of it, but it's nice to see a story like this. Now, why have you brought this up?
Yeah, don't expect to get rewarded very frequently or often enough when you play this game. The music is so good. It's like Vangelis, like Blade Runner style. The game is just we went through this whole thing the past couple of weeks, and I wish that I use StreamYard for this show, and it just chokes down when I try to show video footage. It's not like when Asa has got the production value of a lifetime on your guys' podcast. Shout out to Asa in the chat, but
Asa's a G.
This is like, I don't know, 9 clips that I just put together that I recorded. The game is really impressive, and I just got to tell people, like, when the Starfield comparison comes up, of course, there are very many similarities, but this game is so colorful and, what's the word? It's very stylized. Like, nothing looks realistic. The colors are way oversaturated. It's like you're in a lucid dream, and it's kind of meant to be like that. And you were playing it, and you got... Go ahead.
Yeah. I was actually going to... Sorry, my ADHD is going... If you've seen Love, Death, Robots, there's an episode of Love, Death, Robots. By the way, just check out Love, Death, Robots if you haven't on Netflix, where a woman is stranded on Mars, and she gets danked and just has some psychedelic experience with the planet. This just reminds me of that.
Danked is the word for this game. Now, I want to remind people that I don't have a lot of footage here to show, but this is not like Starfield as much as you would think, or people would try to convince you. You do not have first-person shooter controls. You do not really have guns. You have one gun that can shoot things, but you're not really meant to get into combat. You don't have aim down sights. You don't have grenades. You don't get behind cover. You don't have any combat, anything like that. That it doesn't really occur that way. But the game just exploration. It's one of the hallmarks that's going to make Starfield so amazing. And I want to remind you, if you get into these little arguments, these discussions on Twitter or Reddit or wherever you hang out and talk about video gaming, if people try to use No Man's Sky as a weapon or as an insult, tell them this. I don't get it. This is a very cool game, and it just really shows the promise that if you loved Fallout 4 and Skyrim.
Exactly. That's a great point, because when I was playing this, there was this one. It's like you've got these cartoony NPCs in there, and then you've got the color palette but the music is so deep, and the whole time I'm thinking, well, thank God for Starfield.
Look at this place right here, guys.
Oh my God, what the hell, man? That is insane.
This is recorded at 4K 60, but it's chopped down to like a 720p 30. So, but anyway,
the StreamYard does that. But look, this is so cool. Look, the game, Starfield, the only shame is it's not co-op, or you could experience those worlds together with your friends. That would be incredible. But what I'm really expecting is you know, the tonally with the combat, with the side missions, you're gonna get a whole what you liked about No Man's Sky for the most part, the exploration. You're gonna get that a higher fidelity with the combat mechanics, with a core story that supplements and holds that all together. Obviously, I don't want to downplay what No Man's Sky is doing. This is an indie title, and what they've done with this game is nothing short of incredible. Please don't think that I'm trying to downplay this. This is actually a great experience so far that I've tried. But the Starfield and the No Man's Sky comparisons, go for it. Compare it. Compare it with a view, in my opinion, that this potential on anything good with No Man's Sky could be just so good with a Starfield type of vibe, Interstellar type of vibe. Because that's what it's going for. It doesn't take away from No Man's Sky, nor does it take away anything from Starfield. You should be excited for it. Although I do miss the fact that you can go into the stratosphere in real time. But I'll be honest, it's a bit disappointing. I didn't think it would be. It wasn't as epic as
there is something about humans as we don't get to do it, but how humans can launch into the stratosphere and leave this place that we live on. Let me see if I can repeat this again while we're talking. There we go. There is something about taking off and then all of a sudden you're out in space and you can come into a planet. At the risk of embarrassing myself, I was playing today. Well, who cares? I embarrass myself all the time. I had the music and just the wonder of things. I wasn't even on a planet. I was in a major space station that's part of the main story.
Yeah.
And there was there was real people walking around. They have a little icon that shows they're real people. And then there was the NPC alien people, and they're like running shops and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really beautiful. And like, I kind of like got a lump in my throat. I'm like, I'm not doing a lot of amazing, incredible, exciting, teeth gritting things moment to moment in the game, but it's just such a beautiful experience. We are really in for a treat with Starfield because I don't know. I just don't get this thing where people are saying Todd Howard lies. He doesn't deliver when they have this near perfect track record of making outstanding, amazing games that have been talked about for decades.
I think Fallout 76 put a massive damper on the whole stain on that legacy, but that comparison doesn't make any sense. Is Starfield an online-only game? What are you talking about? The game, from what you've saw visually, by the way, yes, it has some weird smoke effects and some bits weren't consistent, but visually, I thought that game looked better than I thought it would, by the way. Some bits with the lighting, with the combat, way better than I expected. I was expecting some VATS type nonsense, but no. Starfield is going to be incredible. The only problem is, and this is almost a given considering how grand the scope is, but bugs. And I just hope it's not a buggy mess or riddled with bugs that really impacts the enjoyment. I think that's the biggest problem. The biggest risk with Starfield is that it's like it has some problems with it, but I hear that actually the game is ready now. It's just, I think he's confirmed it. Didn't he say that this is just ironing out now?
Yeah, they're just doing the polishing stage, which is
that's amazing for a while. Yeah,
which is good. Which is crazy to hear that if you're in the polishing stage, you need like 9 months to another year. But thank goodness, I'm really happy that Xbox is listening to Bethesda, because they totally told their own studio 343 to hurry up, which we're going to talk about 343 in a little bit. But one of the other points I want to say about Todd Howard is he often gets this comment weaponized against him. And people say, I don't trust Starfield. I'm not going to like it. I refuse to be excited because Todd Howard says it just works. And that is that meme. Yeah, let me take the floor on this one. This is a great one. So they look at Fallout 76 and they're like, it just works. I'm like, he said it just works in 2015 when he showed the building your structures and putting electrical and water lines and all that stuff in Fallout 4. And my beef is that stuff did just work. Like, for the most part, like sometimes stuff would be a little wonky, but I spent hours building outposts on PC and on Xbox. I built up Red Rocket to like until it wouldn't let me build anymore. On PC, I built this huge farmhouse area. My son and I sat and I built an arcade. I built all this cool stuff from all the DLC and everything. Guess what? Just works. And so people use these phrases that Todd Howard said to convince themselves that Starfield won't be worth their time. Gaz, I have to ask, does a lot of this come from they're not going to get to play Starfield on their favorite console? Is that, I don't know. Am I reaching?
Yeah, no, bro, people, this is a fat L. If you're on PlayStation, you're not playing Starfield, that's a bigger L than Spider-Man. That's a bigger L than, in my opinion, God of War. Because that scale of game, you're not... Well, okay, maybe, I don't know, jury's out on God of War, but Starfield, like, PlayStation's not going to get a game like that. No PlayStation first-party studio that we are, unless they have an appetite for it, and I get really surprised. Which studio is that Sony has that can produce this level?
Hold on.
Jurassic Park. Yeah, no one.
Good.
PlayStation doesn't have that, and PlayStation do care. The fanboys really care, and they're really going out of their way to try and downplay it. But it's going to be that. By the way, this doesn't get talked about. That's so. Look at saying the visuals aren't good. Look at what are you talking about, people? Look at the shit. The planet there, the orange planet, is incredible. Like when you're walking, even on the desert, it's amazing. Yeah, it's just great game, man. This game looks incredible. I just want to see how they handle it. Like there's some bits, there's so much variety in the fauna and the planets. How do they handle that procedurally generated stuff? I think they can do it really well. And I also wonder what the intention is with that. Why do they go for that? Is it for future content? I don't know, but yeah, I'm very excited. If it's crap, I will say it's crap. But I'm telling you right now, this could be an incredible game, and it should be. And people may not agree with this statement, but I don't care. For it to Starfield to be considered a success, in my opinion, considering the scale of it and the pedigree of it, all that's hanging on it, and how much it means for Xbox, it needs to be a 90 plus meta game.
I mean,
it needs to be. It needs to be. It needs to be. Just like Halo needed to be, and look what happened with that.
Yeah, I mean, it does need to be because they're overdue, right? But Bethesda's games typically run in the high 80s and then are talked about for decades. But I don't know. What
did Skyrim get? What is Skyrim? Surely
Skyrim's probably a 90 plus. Let me check.
I'm checking right now as well.
I'll check OpenCritic because it's
Nintendo Switch. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why you need to check OpenCritic because it'll cover all the platforms it's been on.
Yeah,
it's only an 81.
Already.
It's only an 81. So keep that in perspective. Skyrim is an 81, and it's one of the greatest games I've played.
96 on the 360, by the way. Oh my god, it's old. Yeah, I mean that's very high. Okay, fine, but yeah, I still maintain my point. It needs to be 90 plus meta. 95, crazy if it was, but it needs to be 90 plus meta, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's going to be one of the most talked about games next year, if not the most talked about game. And this really upsets people who are PlayStation only because they're looking forward to Spider-Man 2, or maybe they think God of War Ragnarok's coming in 2023, but people are going to be talking about the experiences. When you play a game like Starfield, right? Gaz, I'll tell you about the things I did in the game for a week, and you'll say, I was over here. I never even saw that. Like, it's going to be a big deal. Randall Thor in the chat, who was here a little while ago, I think you might still be here. He said, thank you for the $5 Rand. He says, when is Colt and Gaz coming to Chicago to hang with Randall Thor? So yesterday, Lord Cognito of Iron Lords was in Chicago area and made a swing by to the studio space of Randall Thor, and they got to hang out. He said they hung out for
went to his house.
2 hours.
Really?
Went to his house.
Oh, that's so
I
sweet,
think Ram was like, you come to me. And he just like hugged back.
And then Cog got there. He's like, Lord Addict, what are you doing here? Because he looks just like Lord Addict. He does.
They look very similar. So I did a meme. I put his head on Rand's head, and you can go back and forth. But
they both need to learn to comb their hair. But both of them look amazing. I can't wait to meet Rand.
Gaz, what are you more excited for? Fighting in one of the great villains in Spider-Man 2, like fighting Venom, or exploring space in Starfield?
What, fighting Venom in Spider-Man 2? Bro,
that was one of the chats in there.
Bro, it's Starfield all day, man. Rand, it was a joke, but you do look like him. But yeah, no, Rand, how tall are you, by the way?
He's super tall.
Is he super tall?
Yeah, he's super tall. Look, when we meet, I'm gonna be like, "Hi, Rand," but you and I are very short. You and I are in the sub 6 foot.
Are you sub 6 foot?
I'm saying I'm like an inch taller than you, bro.
Yo, I thought you were really tall. You look like you're really tall. You're standing next to Matt Booty in one picture, and Phil Spencer. Is Phil Spencer really short?
Matt's very tall.
6'2". Oh shit.
Phil's very short. Phil's shorter than I am. Yeah. 6'2" for Randall Thor.
Jeez.
No, that was the angle. I had my wife take the picture at an angle so I'd look super tall. I'm like, don't make me look short next to Matt Booty. No.
And didn't Rand take a picture with Jessica Chobot standing next to her? She's quite tall as well. Damn it, I'm so unlucky. Well, not like she's gonna go out with me, but yeah, everyone's taller than me, I guess. Rand. Damn,
now I learned when I was at the Xbox event that everybody that I thought was tall is short. Ryan McCaffrey is a little bit shorter than I am. I thought he was like a 6'4" tall, lanky guy.
Right? Oh
no, he looked like he got left in the dryer. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. And
I got left in the dryer.
Freaking nicest dude ever. One of the nicest dudes ever. Ryan McCaffrey, super nice. And Greg Miller, tall. I thought he was short and stocky.
Greg Miller,
super tall. Super nice guy. We learned when we were at E3, I was there with Hargate, my wife, Sean the Bree, Dante Moody, Dark CMF, and Holly. We're all hanging out. We could get no one's height right when we saw him in person. Like, what? But that's just how it goes,
I'm 5 foot, almost 8. 5'7", 8, 9. Exactly.
I feel like we're doing like a dating app here. How tall are you?
ASL. Remember ASL on MIRC and all that stuff? That was weird. I'm 5'5". I'm taller than you guys. What? No,
5'5". Yeah, I'm 5'9", but whatever. You don't grow anymore when you get to this age. You just start shrinking.
Faisal is taller than me. I met Faisal, by the way. It was so nice to meet someone from the community. This guy is like some Qatari prince, but it was really nice. Good to meet him. Literally, I was thinking, please don't be weird. Please don't be weird. It was so cool. So cool. We had dinner and stuff.
How cool is it to meet these people? I'm looking at the chat. Like, we're gonna meet. We're gonna we're gonna go to E3. You're all gonna go. You'll freaking go. But it is so cool. It is really, really, really neat to be able to do that. Guys, they're just lowering your height as we let them chat. So we'll have to get this back in order. I guess I'll move on to the next thing, because when I look at here, there's still some things about Starfield, but I think that's pretty much it. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a big deal when you talk about exploring space and seeing these big guilds and these big areas and the factions. Like, you create all this stuff. It's going to be amazing. Let's talk about, gosh dang it. So Xbox has reached out to me on some stuff that I'm going to be checking out soon. That'll be like have an embargo date, so I can't get into too much about it, but we know that co-op and Forge are kind of being leaked or being talked about, and there's information about what's going on for Halo Infinite. And I'll start it off with the good, guys. Apparently in Forge, you can put nearly anything, any in-game asset in a map and scale it to whatever. You could put a 70-foot Master Chief in the map. So there are major, like, people are excited. Like, Forge is going to be a game changer, which is why it needed to be out at launch.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Look, everyone expects me to crap on 343, but that's fine. Forge is good. Get that out there, because clearly 343 can't do their job, so relegate it to the community to do it. There we go. Let us build the maps that 343 are so hesitant to build. Yeah, I said it. It's so annoying, but Forge is going to be incredible. The only problem is I just didn't want to see lots of Forge maps because if you played Halo 5, it's just they look and visually they didn't look all that great. They could tell they were Forge maps.
I'm doing a lot of Design Lab stuff right now on Forza Horizon 5, where you see incredibly creator created stuff, but a lot of stuff gets a lot of upvotes that is really crappy, like very short, doesn't do anything, or isn't fun. And
I think it'll be good hands.
Yeah, so you
Really good
got to
as
be
the Halo
careful, but
community. Yeah,
But
no.
Forge
It's
is good.
when Forge
Good
is out
things.
there, it's going to be big. When co-op comes out there, I will play that again. I've already completed it on Legendary anyway, but I guess I can get all. I got most of the achievements on Halo Infinite. I just need to get the skulls and stuff. So to be able to do that with you and friends, that'll be obviously it'll get me back into Halo because Halo's been a bit. But
So let's talk about the. I got to multitask. Get a question out here to get to talk about this, but let's talk about co-op because there's two things I've heard about co-op. One doesn't concern me, which I'm googling right now to get an answer from chat. The other one is this really bothers me, guys. Is co-op in Halo will have you play as another carbon copy of Master Chief, when instead all you have to do is fetch the skin from your multiplayer custom character and let you bring that person in, since you literally will go in the world and find armor upgrades cosmetically for your multiplayer character. Gaz, does this bother you that if you join my game as a co-op partner, you're just another green Master Chief?
I don't really mind it because that was the same with Halo CE. You
20 years ago, you don't mind that they just did something they did 20 years ago?
No, but I agree with you. It would have been great. But, at this point, asking 343 to go above and beyond the call, it seems a bit silly to me. So I'm just kind of grateful for the base features that they deliver. Also, there's like a tethering system there as well, albeit I understand tethering isn't that.
Let me give you a number before you talk about that. I just looked it up because I thought the map wasn't that big. The Halo Infinite map is 28 square kilometers. Now, do you know what the tethering limitation is? I know the chat's probably on top of it. Who was it that brought me to ask this? Oh, it was Boba Fett Gaming with the super says, thank you, Boba Fett, with the Australian Fire. We were just talking yesterday. He says, does anyone have concern over the tether distance in relation to the vehicle use, or is it just me? I was concerned when I first heard it, and then I think Rand was telling me, he's like, Cole, you're going to be, together, like using the grapple shot together and doing combos. Like you're going to want to be in the same, fortress area taking down enemies.
Yeah, but the thing is, with Halo scale is quite big, and the full, some of the battle zones, individual ones, are actually quite vast. So you'd want to be able to snipe and flank, so someone can snipe and you run down the ground. So the tether can't be too aggressive because there are some firefights in Halo Infinite that from a distance, the game's distance is huge. I think based on what I was reading, it's pretty good. I wouldn't be concerned based on that tether so let's see how it goes. But yeah, it looks like it'll be fine. I don't think you should be concerned, but I don't know. It sounds a bit stupid.
I love doing math.
Dave says, "I wish I was tethered to Gaz." What? No, you don't.
I love to do math. I mean, I'm an engineer by trade, so doing the math helps kind of put it in perspective. If you have 1,000-foot tether, try and visualize, chat and audience. If you have 1,000-foot tether, how far away is your partner going to be if you're in one of the major outpost structures? Like, with how far away from, like, if you're in this outpost structure with 20 brutes in it, or 20 covenant or banished, how far away are you from that combat point? Does that make sense? Like, think about how far away you'd be before that became an annoyance, where you're tethered away.
Yeah. I mean, the raw numbers don't really make much sense until I'm there on the ground and playing it. And if it does force a tether, and you're sniping, all of a sudden you've teleported, or
you don't teleport though. We'll give as much information as it comes back to our memory. But when you are away from the tether distance, the maximum distance, it will kill your character and you respawn next to your.
Yeah, that's what it does.
So then you're back to your pistol and your assault rifle. You drop your stuff.
Don't drop my gun. That's crazy. Don't do that. Let's see how they deal with that. But let it come. I'm not going to whinge too much because that clearly just rubs people the wrong way. I find also, I will say this, as much as people get annoyed about me whinging about being critical of Halo, I find the the propensity to make excuses on behalf of Xbox really grating. Like Xbox is literally faltered so much. The position that it enjoys now is because of the core community critiquing it multiple times, and it falters all the time. So be critical for the sake of getting Xbox to where it is. They always listen. They say they listen. They know it. So just if you don't have an appetite for their discourse on it, then perhaps you need to ask yourself some questions. But generally,
you and I on your show, and I've had you as a guest. Now that you're a co-host, we've done a lion's share of 343 critique over the past year for sure.
Yeah,
a year and a half, right? You and I have been, and I know that the chat can get wear on them, but
I can see
like
that
Gaz
as
is
well,
saying,
but...
like Gaz
people
says,
are saying, Gaz is not a real Halo fan. I would have crap on all of you. Most of you aren't as a big Halo fan as I am. Look, let me bring my books of Halo right here. I've got it downstairs. I'll bring it here. The whole camera would be stacked. It just Halo isn't. Never mind.
Well, I'll give it to. Let's let Hargeet take some of the heat because he's good for it. Hargeet with the $10 super. We love Hargeet. We should change Hargeet's name to Hargeet One More Year Chani, because he's like the guy that woke up everyone that games take an extra year now, no matter what, right? But Hargeet Chani, thank you so much for the $10 super, and thank you for teaching me that, because like you don't see it sometimes from where you're standing. He says, wish 343 or Xbox had delayed Halo to this fall. I know I'll get flack for it, but launching without co-op was terrible. I kept hearing 3 months. I kept saying summer at best. Probably fall for co-op, and I think they have a date, right? Or is it August sometime? So
I don't know.
It's another 2 months. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah,
Thank you, Hargeet. Good point. Fire Shadow with the Australian Follow says, good morning to you two legends from Australia. Appreciate the constant effort and content, which is more consistent than Starfield's frame rate.
I hope they fix that though, because that would be problematic.
I'm going to say something that's going to get me in a lot of trouble. So if you hate X&C or Xbox or Colteastwood, this is your time to hit record that, or hit screen record so you can expose me on Twitter.
What are you saying?
I think that the Starfield trailer was captured at a high fidelity. Well, it was 4K according to Digital Foundry. I think they recorded that gameplay at 4K 60 on a PC at the best quality they could muster for the target, and Todd Howard told them to show the trailer at 30 frames. Now that's just my prediction, but why? I think that's why we saw the frame drops, because they put that thing at 4K to get a 4K resolution, and it was at 60 frames because he was on a PC, and Todd Howard said, I want that presentation at 30 frames. I think it looks way nicer, and he's already given us 2 examples why he prefers to see that presentation of their games at 30 frames. Because now you're with me on this, guys. Some of those shots made you think the movie Interstellar.
Yep.
Right? And if that was running at 60, you would think Interstellar, the video game. But some of those shots really felt like a movie. The whole filmic crap, and I can't stand 30 frames.
No, filmic crap. Oh, okay, I'm going to counter on this. As far as film's concerned and cinematography, anything frames beyond 24 can actually compromise the cinematic feel of a game in a
Absolutely.
scene. Starfield is not that game. Starfield does not get hurt by 60 frames. So it should be 60 frames. It should be 60.
What do you think about my psycho claim that game was actually captured at 60 frames, and because there's no reason why the development kit or a PC should drop that many frames at a 30 frames target?
My only reason that game is running at whatever frame rate it was running on is because it pushed res at 4K, like Digital Foundry are concerned.
Yes, Fallout 4 on an Xbox One X already runs at 90% of 4K, 30 frames.
Yeah,
with
but
some frame
Fallout
drops.
4. This is bloody Starfield looking so dank.
It's the same.
Oh, it looks so crazy. What?
It does
visually,
look better.
they're not the same. They're miles.
I would remind I
Leagues
would
ahead,
remind
Starfield.
any of you to if you have Fallout 4 installed on your Xbox Series X or your Xbox One X, I would implore you to install the game and walk around and look. Some of the lighting in Fallout 4 is way better than you remember. And I was actually playing it a couple weeks ago before I made Starfield footage or Starfield videos. And I was like, wow, actually this baked in lighting looks really good here. And there's some spots where it looks incredible. Sometimes it looks bland depending on there's no light source. That's Fallout 4, 2015. So there is something doesn't add up. And that's why I make such a crazy reaching claim that they ran that game at full fidelity. And Todd Howard said, I want to see it at 30. And those frame drops look worse than they really could be.
He purposely throttled the frame rate.
I would bank on that. He purposely said, I want the showcase to look like an amazing movie.
It doesn't. Whatever they showed would. Todd
when you get into combat, now when you're walking
work.
around, when he's walking slow, they're panning, you're seeing the ship take off. It looks amazing. But when he gets in that fast combat, like I showed on this video with shooting the bugs, right? It's like, oh gosh, because you're losing all this animation. It's gone. It's not there. Yeah. And then another thing, Destin Legary was slowing down the footage and saying when they're reloading the guns, there was animations missing. Like there was frame duplication. I'm like, that screams that he just took 60 frames footage and said, I want it to be 4K 30, which is totally crazy. I don't know. We'll never know. But
I just hope it has a performance mode or something that doesn't compromise the. If it's native 4K that's causing the frame rate drop, then I hope they have an option to run it at 60.
Well, I mean, that's why I made my last video that I made like 2 weeks ago. I tried to explain to people the Series X. There's no reason why it won't run close to 4K 60. Like it doesn't matter how many planets there are. It doesn't matter. All those things don't matter. There's no longer a CPU bottleneck. And this game is very CPU or processing intensive. If you want to get technical in what's going on with Starfield, all the things that have to interact are really CPU intensive. And that's where you need a fast processor to draw the frames. And you've got that in the Series X and even the Series S. You just have to. So remember that every time the GPU renders, it has to do a flat image. It renders an image of a still and then cycles it 30 frames or 60 frames on a console. So you're looking at stills every time you move the camera that are being played so fast. It is a lot of work, and it's not too much to ask, no matter how ambitious the game looks, because when we talk about ray tracing, right? Everyone's like, how in the heck is Forza going to do ray tracing? It's impossible. It's like the PS5 did it just great with Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank. Where was the doubt then? Why are you doubting this now? So
that's stupid. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm crazy. I know people make fun of me for that, and oh well. But it's a claim. It's a claim I'll go with right now. Let me grab a super chat. Me Puppet 007. Welcome to who's been a member for 3 months with the Raz from Psychonauts. He says, hey there, and thank you, buddy. Retro Rich with a £5 super said, would be cool to have live events in Halo Co-op 2, similar to Destiny's dropships coming in, as well as Marines to help. Thank you, Retro Rich. Yeah, like the community, what do they call those? Community events, like in Destiny?
Not strikes, sorry. But they were like those events. They were called basically like those world events.
Were they called community events or something like that? Or public events? Public events, what they're called.
Public event, I think.
Yeah, everyone ran over there because there was a big fight. I loved that stuff. I loved it. There's just no great loot. Udonna Kizato with the $5 super has a 3-month Xbox Game Pass global code. He says question marks are the first letter of the XNC co-host's name. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
I don't think we know what your first name is. Yeah, no. Anyway, question marks are the first letter of your name, which we will not name your name, Mr. Sauce. Okay.
That is that's quite clever. There's some people out there probably scouring that, and then they'll have to think
trying to figure out what your name is when it's sitting on the screen. But yeah, hey, just to slow them down. So hey, I don't normally do this, but Fahim, just chill, bro. We're having a good time here. Like, you'd be surprised.
Is he a PlayStation guy?
But Gaz and I have PlayStations down here.
PlayStation energy.
Yeah, it's fine. It's cool. People are going to be super excited about Spider-Man 2, but I just think there is quite a bit of buzz around a game like Starfield where we haven't experienced it. I already played Spider-Man twice.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2018, I loved it more than God of War 2018. So it's just how it is. But okay,
this isn't like your typical PlayStation podcast where we absolutely just like ridicule because we're so insecure. We do play PlayStation games. We respect them. We play on all platforms.
Returnal's one of your favorites.
Returnal's one of my favorites this gen. I actually find that I think people are a bit too harsh on it, but it's such a lovely game. And then that's the kind of game like whatever.
That's Sackboy's my. Sackboy is my favorite PlayStation 5 game, hands down. Game's brilliant. And no one talks about it because they're afraid, it doesn't meet the narrative of the mature story-based game. It's like, Sackboy is brilliantly amazing. Anyway. Yeah, so good. Let me move on. We got Ragnarok is coming was what I wrote here, but I put I put a funny mark next to the word Ragnarok is coming. So what, guys, let's just get into this and talk about why Ragnarok is coming and the developers are not enjoying the stiff competition that has made it so hard for people are really aroused about when the release date will be. And
I hope they're aroused when they send those pictures, because otherwise no one wants definitely no one wants to see whatever.
And you guys, you had Erica and Quest on, and you and Asa were really very colorful about this, but it has come to this. People are being so horrible right now. So I don't know. In your best, I'm on XNC tonight. What's going on? What is going on?
Oh yeah. Our family version. People started sending pics. You can glean from that what I mean. But they send pictures of their nether regions to developer lady whose name I forget, but she is a developer at Studio Santa Monica, and she publicly went out there and said, hey, look, can you please stop sending me these pics, because that will not induce me to give you the release date of the game. I don't know what strategy. Think about the person who does that and say, hey, this is my and when's God of War coming out? Just give me the release date. Yo, hey,
gosh.
Yo, just tell me in. Let me send you a picture of this. I've never used this thing, so I might as well send you a picture of it, because I need to know when God of War's coming out. So, in fairness to them, the people who are sending, I want to defend the people who are sending those pictures, because on the basis that they probably don't know how to use that thing because they've never used it before. The sad pieces of so yeah, those virgins can be lost, but that's not how you use. That's not what it's meant for, by the way. If you're sending and harassing people, that's not what it's used for.
Is it getting worse? With the way that developers are being treated right now, and I know it's not just about what the Sony Santa Monica, they did a press release. They put out a statement saying this is inappropriate behavior, and we're real people. It's become the norm lately, and I know people in their lives, and I know people in the chat are saying this is a family show. I know, yeah, I'll take care of this properly, but it's not just about the lewd DMs. It has become completely normalized, especially in the last year or so, to just be violently hateful to people, biting the hand that feeds you, because
I don't get. The critique maybe, but like, you can be very critical, fine, but this fiasco, or what you were doing to that's sexual harassment as far as I'm concerned. That's disgusting.
Let me ask you that. Let me go that direction with you, because Hargeet and I were talking about this yesterday in a chat. Like, why isn't this illegal? Like,
I'm surprised
to threaten, not just the lewd stuff, but the threats or the lewd stuff. Just I don't want to be specific, but you can't show your body part to someone across the street and say, well, it's okay, they don't know who I am and they can't reach me from here. You'll get arrested. So why is it not illegal? I don't understand why this is happening we're supposed to be
I don't think that it's not
mature industry.
that it's illegal. It's because anonymity. There's anonymity. These people who use it will use alt accounts.
But
They're not
Twitter
using
literally
it.
has your phone number. Like they have a way to say, maybe it's not a big enough offense to say we need to bring in the authorities and have them look up the phone number and make the contact to their house, right? It's getting horrible.
I think it's just logistically, Twitter's not going to actually pursue, a sea of different people doing all sorts of things that they're going to pursue people for things, but they can if they have the appetite to pursue them legally. It's just not worth anyone's time, really, because everyone's busy trying to get on with their lives rather than persecute people who's constantly sending this stuff. I don't know why she had her DMs open. She needs to turn them off, but really, there's just it's just not an excuse to it. It's just sad, and part of it is anonymity on the internet affords people the confidence to do stupid things they wouldn't even dare do in real life. It's loads of people like that. They're hating like that. Anything I say, like if I'm scathing against someone, I would say them to their face, including all my critiques on 343. I'd have a very heartfelt conversation. Not like, obviously, some humility, because these are people who are vastly more talented than I am in making video games we have never done. But I want to have a conversation with them. So, well, at the same time, like, what is going on? Like, you don't seem to have the right mindset. Forgive me. But obviously, the benefit of the doubt, let me talk to you about it. But that's not the attitude people have. They haven't been brought up properly. I'm sorry, but just because you're on the internet, yes, I get it. Sometimes things can spill over. You're having fun. I make Source video. My next Source video is going to be very risky. And it's kind of like, but it's in the sense of comedy. I'm inspired by comedians. One of my maybe the top influences on my life, or my people I look up to, is Dave Chappelle. And, he has done a lot for discourse and free speech and also being funny. I think there's a lot of utility in what Dave Chappelle does, and then I will do the same thing. And there's a fine line there between being critical, being funny, doing it for the craft, entertaining people, and then becoming really toxic. And the lines there's always a line, but no one dictates the line. It's always constantly in the ebb and flow. But with this fiasco, there's a clear line. There's a clear line there.
They're not sending an angry or threatening message to get the release date. They're sending it because they're not going to get it, right? I mean, obviously, I know a lot of people are like, why do you think showing a gross picture or a violent picture or anything like that would, what were the words you use, would coax it out of them? I don't know what word you use to get a release date out of them. I think it's the mark of a helpless, frustrated, angry, miserable, tactless person.
Sad incel somewhere, right?
I can do nothing about it. People like, I need to plan my year. I need to know when the release date is. So I need to plan my holiday. And if I don't know the release date, and I'm like, well, we can't give you the release date. I'm like, well, here's the angry, inappropriate DM. And Gaz, why we have such a funny way of treating the social media space. Someone can DM. Now I'll take it on me, right? Some people will DM me and call me terrible names or say disgusting, vile acts about me regarding Xbox, and they have no problem with it. But me, I would never think about showing people their name and calling them out by name publicly. So, like, why doesn't a developer at Sony Santa Monica, they scratch out the picture, they scratch out the username because they don't want them to get harassed? Why?
I think there may be some legal reasons there as well. Like, perhaps also there would be other controversies that would follow from it. What's the utility in them doing it? They can handle it other ways. They do the right thing there on an individual level.
Why? I don't understand. Why is that the right thing to not? I mean, if they name and shame, I'm not saying that they shouldn't name and shame. In my opinion, they should. But at the same time, that can be controversial, and it's just like, or does it just make things worse? Like, once you name and shame, that person's going to go above and beyond to dox and find you personally, and it just never ends.
You have to understand, a lot of these are cowards, and they don't think about the ramifications of what they do. Say Studio Santa Monica call out that person, that person gets a reality check is some kid who doesn't know what he's doing and then ends up killing himself. What happens then? Then you've got a whole host of issues. That's why it's like, don't want to take the risk of that. What's the utility in doing that? Weigh up the risk. Just tell them no. I mean, they got better things to do than call people.
It doesn't make sense because one of I'm going to leave this developer out of mention for now, but there's developers working on a game that doesn't have a release date, and they are getting threats from their user base as well, and spoke up on Twitter about the outpouring of support from the community. When the developer says, look, we're just a small team and we're getting so many hateful and angry and insulting DMs and people threatening our lives because we can't tell them when the game's ready. And then they put out a video saying, we are so grateful for the thousands of people who've reached out and supported. That is really super incredible. I like to see a lot more of that.
Yeah,
because
that's good.
Aaron Greenberg of Xbox told me one time, he said, I noticed, Colt, that you get into the mess, you get into the arguments of people in the console wars and stuff. And I said, yeah, I try to give them one or two responses and then just mute them and leave. He goes, you need to do that, because he said his advice to me was, they're the 3% that act like that. And so that's all of your time you should give them is 3%. And I've never forgotten
that, but yeah. No, it's a great point. Shout out to Aaron Greenberg. How tall is he?
Maybe a little bit taller than me, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not short. He's not super tall, but yeah, I think he's probably right around 5'10", maybe. Yeah, and the biggest smile in the world. So yeah, a really cool guy.
He seems like a cool guy. I like him.
He's very, very cool.
Well, I've never met him, but yeah.
So we kind of touched on this thing about Forza. That I think we kind of covered it already. That people are treating like the devs like they're lying. It's not just Digital Foundry. A lot of people are really incredulous about how that game is actually going to look. I think we kind of covered that.
You can be confident when the game comes out. Be very confident about how that's doing. All that stemming from insecurity, because it's really embarrassed Gran Turismo from its early showing. Things can go wrong, but I'm very confident Forza wiping the floor with Gran Turismo. If it doesn't, that's an L. But Forza, I'm very sure. It's just, I think comprehensively, like, Gran Turismo was lauded for being more of a sim than Forza. Now, because it's next gen only, it's got 48 more physics calculation, tire burning, and all of that stuff with the visuals, with ray tracing, with all of that, and dynamic time of day, which is restrictive on Gran Turismo. There's no comparison. So that comes from a lot of insecurity. But I've got all the receipts and I'm saving them for when I slap you in my next Source video, as well as when the game comes out. Because I'm confident. And if the game does worse than Gran Turismo, then in terms of critical reception and whatever, visual performance, etc., or ray tracing, then come at me. And I'll say, you know what? You're right. I'll take the
here's the killer. I think this was Hazador that brought this up, who's on Twitter. He's a great guy. I've known him for like 5 or 6 years. Hazador said that typically Xbox games don't, how do I say this? Because I don't remember exactly how he said, but they don't downgrade what they show. They basically, Xbox typically shows the game and then it ends up looking like they showed it. And you could take that two different ways, guys. Think about some of the games that have come out that have only really gotten better at launch or after support. That Xbox doesn't show a game like Watch Dogs where it looks like mind-blowingly incredible, and then the game comes out and it's like, right? So I feel like in my memory when he said that, I'm like, yeah, Xbox almost always shows their game and it looks like what they showed before. You don't see a major downgrade, and you see that sometimes with big games like
you do
Battlefield 2042 or right.
Yeah, generally.
I don't know. Have you thought of that before?
I'll be honest, the biggest downgrade ever in last gen for me was Crackdown and its cloud tech. That was the absolute slap in the face. And I vouched for Xbox there And I got burnt by that cloud tech because you had the demo of the bullets shooting through and doing impossible physical
You didn't get
calculation.
burned. You didn't get burned. The guy walked and went to another another company and broke contract. He left them high and dry. So Xbox didn't underdeliver. They got burned.
They got burnt, then they underdelivered. Ultimately, you know, how does that give me any solace that Crackdown ended up being whatever it should have been? It was an embarrassing multiplayer was dead in 2 days or 3 days. It was horrible. So yeah, but I actually like Crackdown. The single player. I actually completed it. So yeah.
I loved the single player. Yeah, that multiplayer was too choppy, and they didn't deliver everything. Hargit Chani's got a 2,200 Halo credits. He said teabag in style with this code.
Oh yeah, I wonder what he's referring to there.
Yeah,
that's on the other side of the spectrum.
that is the whole total opposite. He also has Hargit, thanks for the $10 super. He says if a kid's now this is part of what we're talking about, that if you've got an underage kid who is sending lewd pictures, like that's a whole other legality issue. Someone needs to be prosecuted issue. For this.
There's a multiple.
That's what I want to ask you. Is there a I guess the chat kind of covered it. Like it's illegal, but they just don't see it as a big enough deal to go after it and put.
It's just logistically, it's just not going to be possible to enforce against everything. You think Sony Santa Monica is going to be sitting there and then dealing with prosecuting? They'll deal with so much stuff. It's just utility. Just move on. Like, what's the point? What are they doing? Unless they feel really obliged to arrest or prosecute someone, and then it ends up being like a 16-year-old as a child. What are you going to do? You're going to drop it anyway, and then legals and lawyers involved. No,
and the logistics of tracking people down isn't cut and dry. Risky for the biscuit with the Australian $3. Thank you, Risky. Says we're starting early. I demand a longer show. I promised Gaz I wouldn't keep him too long, but
it's all good.
It's all good though. The downgrade thing. I think about State of Decay. State of Decay looks so like 3 times better than it did at launch. I stand by Hargit, and I stand by you as well, Gaz. I think a lot of Xbox's games would be much better if they gave them 1 extra year. I've been playing Sea of Thieves, a game I didn't like. I've been playing it with my kids, and we're having a really great experience. Game looks incredible, but it has like 3 or 4 years of updates and upgrades. Upgrades.
That's one of the benefits, I guess, of a live service game. It comes out pretty hollow, and then after a few years, it becomes fully formed. And Sea of Thieves was very hollow when it came out. Now look at it.
But why? Like when a game comes out, I don't want to sit back and go, well, I know how things go. I'll just wait 3 years. Like you want to play a game when it comes out, but
I mean, I'm not a fan of, I've seen this excuse so much with Halo. It's a live service game. What did you expect? The base features that all the games before it came out with. Don't do that. It's such corporate shilling. I've seen this corporate shilling for Xbox focus in the next 12 months, so it's fine. I'm like, are you going to parrot the line? That's device. This is what's happened. Xbox has had those 2 delays. Like, right, we need to come up with a strategy. How do we deal with this showcase? All right. And they've whatever testing they've come up with in the background, or let's just focus on the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. Angle it this way and show an abundance of games, because we don't have anything first party. People are going to talk about it, but we can just divert attention to that. That's the same kind of mentality.
Nice. That would have been nice heads up. And another heads up, I haven't done the entire show. We have over 730 people who are watching. If you enjoyed the show or have been enjoying your time here, hit the like button. If we can get that up to 500, that would make sense. We've had a great audience of over 700 people here, and Gaz and I have been sweating through some particularly rough topics, but it's been a really good time. The chat's been incredible. I've had more chance to check it out today, and thank you for hitting like and showing your support. This also goes up on demand on Spoodle and Google-Fi. Spoodle and Google-Fi and Crapple Podcasts. There you go. No, but I don't know. You know, that's funny. Somebody said something about the Arc developer. That Vin Diesel Arc 2 looks so beautiful, but I know what Arc 1 looks like. I don't know.
They need to put me. You can't. How can you do that? How can you say in-engine like showcase and you show one thing that looks completely CGI? You're gonna get destroyed when that game comes out, and for good reason.
I don't know. I don't.
Unless it
They
does
also
come out looking that good, because I don't think it will.
Yeah, who was this? Admiral says Atlas, which is like the Sea of Thieves competitor, which looks incredible in the trailer. But I'm like, I just don't know if the game actually looks like that. Like, I played Ark Survival Evolved on the Series X. Like, I got a full Series X enhancement.
Oh my
Took forever to download it, and it looked nasty. Just nasty.
Boy, day one on Xbox, it was ridiculous. It was like
It does not.
sub 20
It still
frames.
does not.
Res was disgusting. I played the game and my character took a and then I ate said and then I poisoned myself. And I was like, what is this game?
Did you get an achievement for that? I don't know. Ark, yeah. Ark is in a new engine, but it's a next generation thing. So
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe this will be. It's so funny when let's get it. This will be a nice segue. You look at these studios and they make a couple of games and they're kind of finding their way. And then they start making incredible stuff. When you look at Naughty Dog, they used to make these little, Crash Bandicoot and stuff like that. Right. And now look at them. You just have to give these studios time. And we're starting to see Xbox's studios really start to stretch these legs. But gosh, dang it, Gaz, you did a great video about 2022. I want you to talk about the future and what's going on, kind of you covered in your video, because there is a lot of doom and gloom. Xbox actually has a pretty nice looking 2022 in the fall, but it's not anything they've made. They've got Plague's Tale Requiem is on Game Pass. High on Life looks fantastically fun. They've got Warhammer Darktide, which if you've played the Warhammer games, those are so fun with friends. They've got all these little things that are coming that are going to be really cool for the end of the year, but their first party studios are not here. So
yeah, I mean, I've covered this in my video, and I saw a lot of apologists. Not very few, if anyone. Well, a couple of people had some good retorts, but the rest of us complete. One of them was, we've got Game Pass, and if you start using Game Pass as an excuse for the anemic first-party AAA content, then you've already lost any argument.
You can use Game Pass if they're grabbing big games like Saints Row or Gotham Knight, because they're like the Harry Potter game, like, because we know what's coming. Oh, let me throw this in here because no one's talking about this. I want you to get back to this in a second here, but supposedly that Avatar first person and like eye melting game is supposed to come out this November, but we've not really seen it. Like, is this game actually really coming out? There's some big things coming out this year.
I mean,
did you know this?
With that? I didn't know it was coming out in November.
Avatar,
is that actually
like
confirmed?
Frontier or something? Frontier.
That means either it's a rubbish game or because they haven't shown anything. Like, what's going on? Like that's weird. I don't know. I don't know about that, whether it's coming out. It looks really amazing, but let's see what that is. Yeah. But in terms of like,
it's Ubisoft, right? And they've really tried to change their approach. And I watched the trailer, and the Engine Ninja trailer looks like the freaking movie, but I don't know.
I don't know. That'd be a good surprise. But yeah, I mean, generally, just like the Xbox, the fact that it has not a single AAA first party exclusive. When's the last time it had that? I don't think I can remember. Never.
I don't think ever. I don't think disgusting. Ever in 20. And I said this to somebody on Twitter because they were like, "What happened to 2022?" I'm like, you realize never in their 20 years have they not had a first party game. Never. I don't think.
A first party AAA game. They've got Pentiment and Obsidian's Grounded releasing, but I don't think those kind of cut it on the life. But it hasn't, and it will change next year. I think next year will be the turning point where I don't have to have this conversation before, where I don't have to tolerate loads of excuses from communities giving 8 out of 10s and straining themselves and putting their glasses away. I'm sorry, but I just think it's so disingenuous for some of the people who talked about first party all day, the run up to the showcase event, all they talked about this coming out, a Killer Instinct. Everyone's going hyped, and all these content creators going, this is going to be there, this is going to be there. And when nothing was there, you literally had a repeat of last year's show, Starfield and Forza and Redfall, except you got gameplay for them, and now you're going to tell me this is an epic show. There's such a cop out. And people are like, why do you care about first party exclusives? Just a console war point. No, it's not. Xbox themselves, Phil Spencer in his own mouth has said the importance of first party exclusives. But what I I'm critical of it because they faltered. They put their eggs on the Starfield basket. It failed. But next year, that's all going to change. Then it goes to another. Then it goes another problem. Then you've got too many games. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just worried about the developers who have their time to shine in a very saturated market. Assuming that happens, it's going to be amazing. And I mean, hopefully the COVID thing, I swear you do not use COVID for next year as an excuse. In 2023, I swear to God. But
well, let me throw some perspective in there. 2018 is when they established Xbox Game Studios. That makes next year number 5. How long does it take to make a AAA game?
Yeah.
5 years, right?
Say
6 if you throw in 2 years of COVID. So basically what you're looking at is everything has to release in 2023 because that's what they acquired the studios in 2018. But here's the weird thing. Why isn't there some overlap? Why they acquired Obsidian in 2017 or 2018 or 2019? It might have been 2019 for Obsidian. They acquired them. Like, how come they didn't have something in the works that overlapped and like bunny hopped in? But these studios did. Outer Worlds was a multi-plat. Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo are multi-plats. Like, and Wasteland 3 is a multi-plat. So they acquired all these studios, but half of them, and I've said this on my show, we're making games for PlayStation. So it was like it was the perfect terrible storm where
that is the
Xbox has no games was going to be done in 2022, and Stalker, they got invaded in Ukraine.
Stalker was pretty crazy. Yeah, that's mad situation.
And then Starfield needed a delay, and so did Redfall.
And that's fine if those games get delayed because they need to be delayed. But still,
and imagine
it was the perfect storm. Yeah,
and imagine being Matt Booty, who's got 15 studios to bring in. Bethesda comes in, and they're already got contractual obligations, and they're sitting there like pulling their colors out, like, "Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?" Hopefully this is over in 2022. And then Todd's like, "Yeah, that Starfield, it looks like No Man's Sky. We got to delay it."
No, absolutely, it is like literally that's what happened. Ultimately, it landed that way, but ultimately we can't make excuses for a Microsoft that has 23 studios under its belt. And okay, what's your excuse for Perfect Dark and the initiatives running? That's terrible. The mismanagement that they've come out for the people who have left the game. You've got Dan Nurberger put in the video. He was the game director. 2 of the people in this video, or senior people, have left. What's going on? You've had people from the studio initiative saying they weren't being heard, and painful, slow development under labs. Just because they've acquired a studio doesn't mean it's going to be a surefire hit. They've grown so fast that the transition to dealing with that, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. And I see the same faces there. They're like, "Oh, you hate Xbox. Why would you?" Like Lanzo's in every video of mine. You will give every show a 10 and every show a 10. And I don't think, and I hate that of anyone or an Xbox fan just bending over backwards to make excuses for Xbox. Because I can bet you now, if we were in a private room with Phil, Matt Bootian, or Phil and Matt, and they would say, "Look, just a perfect storm, it's rubbish, but next year will be better." They will admit that is a failure.
That's exactly what they said to Hargeet and I. We were just off to the side. It was Hargeet, Dark CMF, and I talking to Matt, and everyone was kind of out and away. So the only people who could hear Matt's voice were the 3 of us. And Xbox's little camera crew came around and recorded us.
Listen to him. Yeah. What did he say?
Matt said, well, Matt was very visually frustrated. He's like, "It's just so difficult. Like, if we could get the games out, we would get them out. They're just not ready." And he said, "But next year is so ridiculous that I literally have a spreadsheet where I have to figure out how games won't step on each other's toes and how everybody gets their due, because we had Starfield and Redfall coming and they had to be delayed, and we want to do what's right for the game. But what that means is you have to take the punishment." And as Xbox fans or anybody who creates content or has a strong presence on social media where you talk about your favorite platform, it's a very difficult thing. And people will throw insults at you because a company you don't manage is having a very difficult situation. And even PlayStation, who's had an incredible 2022. They have literally 6 major AAA games from first party. 2 of them are remasters, a couple of them are sequels, and or 3 of them are sequels, but a really great first party outing.
I mean, they've had Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon Forbidden West, and those are great. Obviously, whatever. They're still great, and they may potentially have God of War. Potentially,
but I mean, I don't know what you call this. I don't know what you call this word. It's not. I wouldn't call it an excuse. PlayStation didn't have 3 or 5 years where their parent company was just like, we don't care. We're done. They had Terry Myerson.
Absolutely.
They told Phil, I don't know. We tried. The Kinect did really well. The Kinect 2 didn't do well. Why push all this money in here? And it was Phil that said, look, if you give me the reins and you give us some funding, we can do some incredible things. Gaming is bigger than ever. And Satya was like, we're all in. But PlayStation has never had that. They've been in the business for 25 plus years. And it's always been, hey, you're doing great. Sony's just giving them money. And my favorite thing, guys, is people are like, Xbox is only doing this because they have all this Microsoft money. It's like, where do you think PlayStation gets it? They get it from Sony. Sony's a really great, big, successful company.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Sony is that we're going to see. It's a long-term run of this race, and I think Xbox's fate as far as AAA performance will change next year massively. There will always be questions on quality. I will always ask. I will always push them. Again, like Dan Lazaro with the super chat goes, wag, as Dan Lazaro just gets intolerant of any critique of Xbox as well. And I'm so glad you're there. And I see you writhing around, and I will crap on you day on day because Xbox doesn't improve because of you. It doesn't. If Xbox listens to these people, they literally would have Xbox One Connect sitting there playing Connect Sports 3 today. You would just be there,
I know from talking to people at Xbox, they don't hear the apologists. They hear the constructive criticism. The people who say, hey, I really like this studio. I really appreciate it if they were doing this, or you guys need to correct this. But they don't respond to, you guys suck, right? Sleeping Vistas, I missed your super chat an hour ago. I'm so sorry. Thanks to my great mods for keeping a track on that. Thank you, Happy Bomb says, Sleeping Vistas with Australian 5 says, Starfield will have one thing Fallout 76 didn't have. Phil Spencer. Well,
Phil
I mean,
Spencer,
I don't think Phil Spencer really applies to the formula, but I will tell you, Sleeping Vista, one thing that Fallout 76 will have, or Starfield will have that Fallout 76 won't have, is Todd Howard. Now, this isn't something that people really pay attention to, guys, but Todd Howard was mostly absent and not directly involved with Fallout 76. It was put on another part of the team. He's been mostly keeping an eye and building Starfield. And so when people use Fallout 76 as ammo against Starfield, it's like, you just got to do a little bit of research. So the magic of Todd Howard, whether you believe his lies or not, I cannot wait to play it. Dan Lazaro, the $2, he wants to come, he wants to flex, and we love him for it. He says, you repeat your whiny points daily, Gaz. You're tired.
Until they fix their stuff. The last thing I want is for them to listen to you, Dan Lazaro, or you, Lanzo, with your $10 super check. Because Daz, stop the cap. I've never given an Xbox show a 10. I gave the last one an 8. You gave this last one an 8? Oh, well, you're going to probably give the next one a 12 because that would probably be a good show.
An 8's not
an 8. I'm a PC gamer, and Xbox showed a lot for me. The question is, did Xbox offset its first-party crap with third-party? No, it didn't. I'm sorry. It didn't. Xbox has thinned out the sauce a bit in 2022, but in 2023, it'll be thick and creamy. Also, play Corvs, people. I think means Chorus. It's a masterpiece. Thank you, Alvin. Yes, that's a great
Where
game.
Are you getting these? Oh, you're so
this
fast.
Super chats.
You're so fast. I'm just trying to keep up.
Last year, Xbox did well. I gave them.
They did really well.
They did really well, and there you go. It was a great show.
You know what?
It was brilliant.
I'll go to bat for a couple of these comments that you're going against, because that first and second half, or that first third and last third, were really good for me. That middle was terrible for me. So I don't score shows, but I just hold on. I have to look at my screen so I don't get cut off. Over here. Yeah, the show was like, it's just a dip. And I don't want the dip. If
The dip.
I don't want
it
the
is.
dip.
I'll give it 6 only because Kojima was there. Starfield looked good. Forza looked great, and the surprise of the show for me was High on Life.
Yes,
but even
let me read a couple supers. Hargy Johnny with the Hargy Johnny with the $5 says for the U.S. I actually sing a song to Hargy every day when I get a Hargy Johnny today, and then he does his laugh like stop. Hargy's great. He says for the U.S. Independence Day 4th of July, here's Assassin's Creed 3 remaster. Oh, that's so fantastic! Which takes place in his native Boston, and he has the global code for that. That's awesome. Talk and Shoot Gaming with the $5. Thank you, Talk and Shoot. He says, whenever you guys talk about Forza Motorsport, we know graphically it looks good, but how do you think it will hold up as a true racing simulator? This is good question. This is kind of my wheelhouse. Forza has been behind in the driving wheel support and some of the really specific racing simulator things, like the pit stops are coming back. They've done tire modeling and weather and track stuff that's going to be really great. I won't get into that technical stuff, but as far as like getting knocked down for cutting track, that's something that hasn't been in Forza. But you also have to ask, what are you looking for in the game? Like what's a balance to be had? Yeah, what gives you your most enjoyment? Maybe it's probably better to have those things and be able to toggle them off. So hopefully we'll hear more about that in the coming months about how they don't like Project Cars and Assetto Corsa are perfect sim racers and iRacing, right? But they're not all that fun for most racing fans. And I don't speak for most racing fans, but Forza is big for a reason. The Forza Motorsport series is the higher rated game because it feels better, plays better, and it looks better. And Forza Turn 10 actually did a tweet, guys, where they said basically the tweet was, our game looks better than everyone else's.
Yeah, I don't know why Paul Smith's comment got deleted by Happy Bomb. I thought it was hilarious.
I'm not looking at the chat right at this moment.
You probably don't want to read that out, but that was hilarious.
We'll save it for post show. Hargy Johnny today with the $10 says, I love you, Hargy. Technically, Xbox did release a AAA game. I gotta say, Hargy's awesome. When we were at Fad Fest, when I'm talking about that conversation with Matt Booty, like he stepped right up and just like started asking questions. Like it was so cool. Good. It's so cool because this is a guy who's been in everyone's chats. He's on your podcast. He's part of your team, but he was just right there. He's just like, this is what I'm doing now. It's so awesome. Anyway,
I did not know that, Hoggy. Respect. I need to get you some like microphone gear. When we're there together, we'll just hammer some interviews.
He's gonna be
ask
great
the real
for it.
Questions.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Like he's of course he's professional. Like you have to ask he asked like the tough question because he's the one that asked Matt about the 2022. He's like, 2022 is real light, and he was really good about it. Like
here asking that in his voice.
He was like a game developer or a game journalist. Like it was great. But with Hargy's face, he says technically Xbox did release a AAA game this year, Ghostwire. And we will get Deathloop on Xbox Game Pass this year. Last year, Sony Studios put out 2 games. I've heard him, and he elevates his voice when he says that. They had 2 games last year. Sony has 21 studios to Xbox's 23, just saying. Hargy will not give up. Not give up. But like I said, 6 games for them this year, 0. 6 AAAs for PlayStation, 0 for Xbox from their first party. So, I don't know. A lot of sequels and remasters from PlayStation, but they're great looking games. Yudani Kizada, thank you for the $10. Says, in the United States, we spell canceled with 1 L. In England, they spell it with 2 L's. If you're wondering why, it's simple. We handed them the extra L in 1776.
The irony of an American talking about the comparative educational system of our country. Wow. At least we can spell.
when literally in our country, we are taking major L's every day. But we love it here. And the weather's great. We love it here in America.
Actually, I actually would love to move to the States instead, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get you to come over here. But Alvin with the $5. Thank you, Alvin. Says Xbox has thinned out the sauce a bit. You read that one. The thick and creamy. Oh, gosh. And the way you read it was even better. But so the 2022 problem, you spelled out some of the things that people don't like to talk about. State of decay, being in like having its own little kind of hiccups, and they're having problems with with people in the studio and Perfect Dark. Like, what's going on with Perfect Dark? When you
Perfect
outline
Dark,
it in
I'm really
video, it
concerned
sounds really
about.
messy.
I think Perfect Dark, I'm really concerned about. You got Crystal Dynamics coming in to develop the game. You've got these key personalities. The same reason why everyone is touting quadruple A, and 50% of their people are pretty much left. And what's happened? I heard those excuses before. You when Drew Murray left, you said that he's a creative director. He's already done the creative stuff. And they're an incubator studio. They built this game, then they gave it off. They were all by design, and that's why he left. But the game director, lead level designer leaves. Go on their page now. Go on Perfect. Go and check their website and look at the roles that they're hiring for. Still really senior ones. Same thing with Fable, by the way. Although I'm not that worried with Fable because Playground games inspire a lot more confidence. But I'm worried about it because apparently they may Perfect Dark this is from Kotaku, they're talking to this person, may end up being a soft reboot, and that's a huge L. That's giving me vibes of what's that game?
A soft reboot?
Basically, they were saying that the game is years away from release, one of the employees, and it wouldn't surprise them if it ended up being a soft. I'm not saying it will be a soft reboot, but that's what they were saying, that it wouldn't surprise them. It's a comment that's like a takeaway comment. I think we can all agree with Perfect Dark, and the legacy is so high because in the N64 days, it really was something special. Perfect Dark needs to be incredible. From the effort,
it needs to land like the Tomb Raider reboot did, and I think Daryl Gallagher plans to do that. I'm not worried about that. Like, Daryl Gallagher is maybe he's the problem. Maybe he's like, no, what I say goes. I know what I'm doing with this reboot. Look at what I did with Tomb Raider, and people come with these ideas. He's like, no, we want to make a conventional game. I think the team came. Risket, I'm going to grab your super chat because it lands in here pretty nice here in a second. But Daryl Gallagher's like, I don't want these unconventional, wild, episodic or whatever type ideas. Like, we need to hone in and make a great narrative-driven action adventure game like I know how to do with my team and that Crystal knows how to do. And he's looking at Avengers that Crystal was pushed on with Square Enix, and is like, this is what we're doing. And it probably ticked off a lot of people, and I don't blame them. I've been on creative teams. When your voice isn't heard, it sucks, and you want to leave. You want to tell the guy to shove off, and you don't want to be there because your talent and your time is being wasted. I don't blame them for leaving.
Why is the game director left, though? Why is Dan Nurberger left?
I don't remember why he left, but
we don't know. He just apparently just left it very quietly. Hasn't given a reason. He hasn't even given a reason yet, by the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could only assume, but
and it's all assumptions at this point, because ultimately, for all we know, what's his name? Not
Gallagher.
Gallagher was probably could be the one is like, look, I have a vision. I need to push this. I know how Crystal Dynamics and what he's doing. The departures may be a good thing. It might be there's a stretch here, but it may be necessary to deliver a great game. If you look at Denis Villeneuve, who delivered an incredible Dune. Do you know this guy is so good? I bring Dune again. But you know what? This guy's a genius. He said, and Dune gave birth to sci-fi. Star Wars copied Dune. Everything copied Dune, basically. But Denis Villeneuve, when he was creating the movie, he said, I don't want anyone's vision. It was going to be my one. It was going to be mine. No one else's. I know exactly what to do. To think of that level, to deal with Dune and have that confidence and that much commitment to your vision, especially after what happened with Blade Runner 2049, brilliant work of art. Yeah, critically failed. But then he comes back to Dune and says, I'm going to make this incredible. No one else. My vision. I know what it's done. And look at what he created. Incredible. And
that's
Darren Gallagher, what's Gallagher basically?
Daryl Gallagher. Yeah.
Daryl Gallagher is also a proper visionary. He has a incredible legacy. So there could be that as well. I need to interview them, but everyone's like silent.
Yeah, right.
It's so hard to get hold of
you can throw as much money. You can throw Unreal Engine 5. You can throw hardware. You can throw all these things that everyone on Twitter and Reddit think what make an amazing game. But the thing that makes an incredible game is the vision and the people that can create something. And when you say that doesn't look next gen, that looks next gen, what you're actually saying is that team was directed by people that understood the attention to detail and what makes something beautiful. Sometimes it can be this scene looks so realistic, but someone goes, it needs this to sweeten it up. This is what pops in people's eyeballs. And it's so funny. When I was driving home today, I had on my sunglasses and they're polarized, and the sky looked amazing. And since I'm such a video game fan, I'm like, gosh dang, that is so beautiful that I can appreciate the real world. I took my sunglasses off. I'm like, oh, it looks plain. I'm like, this happens in video games where they're like, you got to make everything sweet. And Daryl Gallagher is saying that this game we need to do this. This is what's going to make it absolutely incredible. And it's that talent and passion. And I also thought about Starfield, guys. I was thinking about this today, that you could hire on people that are technically incredible at what they do. They're great at open world. They're great at making stuff look this certain way. But what you really need is big leaders on the team that are so passionate about sci-fi. They know about Buck Rogers and Star Trek and Mass Effect and Star Wars, and they want to pour all the best parts into this game and make an homage to what makes sci-fi, and pull from Elon Musk and NASA and all these things that make this amalgamation that makes Starfield an incredible like sandwich of greatness. And it doesn't mean you don't just you don't just hire all these people that just have a really great GPA in their college at art school, right?
Yes.
That's what Matt Booty told us. He said, video game, it's, it isn't just, it isn't just making video games. It isn't easy. You don't just make a video game. There's so many things that have to be working. I think he also said this in the interview that I got from Xbox, that I wasn't allowed to show most of it, but so I'll just paraphrase that. Matt explains that video games take a certain special, I'll just paraphrase my words, it takes a special sauce to create a video game that it just is, you can't just throw money and time at it. Like the magic, it's like writing a song or recording, it's art, and it has to be done right.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that Matt Booty said that, because that means that they understand. I'm not saying that they don't understand, but it shows that they're not just heavily relying on their checkbook to try and produce quality, and that they're learning on the fly from these.
And honestly, Xbox is very new at this. They've had a rebirth in 2018. They were mostly dead. They didn't.
Yeah, they relied on 1010 Coalition.
The only studio was 2 racing studios and a Halo studio, which was trying to get on the ground, and then a brand new studio when Epic left to take care of Gears. So they were babies. Let me read Risk It for the Biscuits. Thank you so much, Risk It, for being patient. I get to talk to this guy on Xbox, so I can hear his voice when I read this, but thank you for the Australian $8. He says, I spoke to a former Santa Monica Certain Affinity dev. He told me that COVID set them back 1 month for setup and 3 months for everyone to settle in. So 4 months, but I mean, we are seeing proof that it is set them back an actual year. And then the dev
I get that there are problems. We had, he's the director at Fable now. He was the Dirt 5 technical director as well, and he said that the problems that COVID had introduced so many problems, like even having people around you to look at what you're working on and working together, or having access to hardware like the TVs, for instance. Not everyone's going to have access to see what that game looks like on that monitor. There were problems.
No,
there.
They don't. I went to the Xbox office and they have a dev kit sitting there in one area where 20 people work. So anyone has access to that. Jim doesn't get to take that home because no one else can use the dev kit and punch in a game and see how things are running. I forgot what I was going to say. Gaz, I have ADD. I love it. There's just so much. There's so much that goes into this. Oh, it was George Foreman said here in the chat. He says Age of Empires. Of course, they've got Horizon 5 DLC. That Hot Wheels DLC is going to kill it. It's going to be incredible. But where's Age of Empires? Like, I fully expected after the 1 year period to get the console release like you did with Flight Sim and, oh my gosh, my brain is so fried right now, Gears Tactics. So whatever's taking that console version for Age of Empires is still not ready. But I don't know. But You know what's funny? I will bookend all this by saying, after all this, and I know this is true for Gaz, I still have not run out of games that I freaking always want to play. And I am not one guy. Gaz and I are very different. Gaz, like he bites into all these little games and he's moving all over the place. I sit down and I play one game, then I finish it, then I try to move on to the next one. And I've played a lot of games, and I'm still not run out of fun games to play. And this fall is huge, no matter what you're on. We've got the Gotham games. Saints Row is going to be stupidly fun, and I don't even need to list them off. You already know. It's going to be great. I can't wait for Xbox to get back on their feet, Gaz.
I mean, they're getting there. As far as first party, that's so relevant. People try to downplay the importance of first party. You don't realize that's how you assess that platform health. That's how Xbox, the execs know it. They spent $70 billion for a reason. It is all of that is future proofing. That is a reflection of the brand. It'll always be the reflection of the brand. It will feed into the sales of that console. Now, Xbox is selling really well because of PlayStation's shortage. You can't buy PS5. I can go to Amazon right now, by the way, in the UK, and I guarantee you the Series X and the Series S are on sale. You can buy it straight away. There it is.
You can get the X on in the UK on Amazon?
Right now, literally, they type in the UK Xbox Series X. You can get it delivered by Prime today. I say today it's 1 a.m. so I can get it today, but Monday, I'm in the future,
for regular
by
price.
7 p.m. £449. Xbox Series S, 240 today. This day on Amazon. I'll type in PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
I'll bet my PC.
I'm in the US. And it is $730 for a Series X in the US, but I wonder why that's different. But yeah, you can't get a PS5.
Yeah.
No, actually I meant to tell this story.
I can't buy PS5. I can buy the controller. I can't buy the PS5.
I meant to tell this story. I was at a family outing, and my cousin was like asking me about Xbox stuff because he knows that I have an Xbox channel. And he says, you still doing the Xbox stuff on YouTube? I go, yeah. He goes, he's a couple years younger than me. He goes, sometimes we just pick the wrong console. And I was like, and he was standing in my kitchen, and I go, you're going to console war me in person in my house? And then I smacked him in the arm, and we had a good laugh. And I said, what have you been playing on your PS5? He's like, oh, I can't get one. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I just figured I would wait a little bit. I'm like, what did you wait for? Like, this guy's a huge PlayStation fanboy.
Yeah.
And when I used to use Twitter, like, he would post like, this is greatness. I'm like, you're doing that on Facebook? But he's such a cool, funny guy. So we had a good laugh about that. I thought, it's so funny that the console war stuff can actually happen in person, but with a smile and no hard feelings, but super cool. So then I brought him into this room, and I said, have I shown you my setup? And he's like, no. I brought him in here, and I gave him the 1, 2, 3 punch, chat and audience, and hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. I have over here, I don't often move the camera, but I have, maybe you can see it. I can't see a slide, but I've got this track racer racing seat. Okay. And now my camera's going to fall now that I moved it. Oh my gosh. We'll deal with it. Anyway, yeah, you couldn't see it, but I sat that track racer seat down, and I loaded up Forza Horizon 5, and I've got the Bose Atmos theater system, LG OLED TV screen on lock, 4K 60, sat him down in the seat and had him drive, and his little pony mind was blown to the back of my couch. He goes, what is this? I go, this is Forza Horizon 5. This is the racer that came out with a few months ago. He's like, this is on your Series X? I go, yeah. He goes, what? Why does it look? Wow, what is this? Yeah, it was so cool. But he's such a cool guy. Yeah, I don't know. I said, hey man,
the console war will happen all the time. The console war happen all the time. I see it all this. Like Phil Spencer says, "Don't console war." Doesn't make sense. I was like, you're completely alien to what human nature is like. It's like a sports team. You benefit from our hype. So for you to complain about it, I just find it so like short-sighted. We've obviously gets really toxic, but for the most part, that we'll take it. I mean the art benefits from it for a lot as well. And so it's like I went to the gym. I went, all right, this is how everyone console wars. I went to the gym and I was playing with my friend Ben, and I kid you not, now if this was filmed, it would have gone viral. I was speaking about Halo at the time. This is last gen, and then the guy brought up Killzone, and I was like in the gym, literally like doing bicep curls. I don't care. I literally have no filter, so I don't care if people around me. And I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? Killzone Shadowfall was absolutely. This is nonsense. Like, what are you talking? Don't compare it to Halo. And
were you like this while you're talking?
Yeah, well, my little arms. Obviously, I've lost my completely my gains. But I was doing that. We was having this argument, me and him, and everyone in the gym, bro, everyone in the weight section. There was this beast of a guy with this the guy. I used to be intimidated by this guy. This guy was a beast. He was always quiet. He had this doing 4 plates. Actually, pushed mad weights on chest. Mad weights. He comes in 4 plates each side. That's 20 kg plates, 1 plate. And he just gets up and he's there. And he just see the dreadlocks, just moves it back. And he's like, bro, don't even compare Halo to Killzone. But I was like, yo, I thought, and boom,
No way.
Other people, bro. And then there's other people I have never talked to, and everyone was just like, yo, what is this? And it was the most incredible, one of the funniest, hilarious, and everyone got involved. This guy was the nicest guy. Beast of a man, and just going, no, what are you talking about? Killzone's an embarrassment. I'm so glad he was an Xbox fan. He was on my side. I'm like, yeah, take that.
If we were toe to toe, in these conversations, they'd be a lot more fun and enjoyable and not so terrible, right?
I think, well, obviously with the internet, it gets worse. King Thrash talks so much nonsense. The guy, in my opinion, if you said it to his face, as I say it to my face, what you're saying, would you say it that way? And if you did, then we'll sort things out. But stuff like that happens. There were 666 people watching. That's the devil's number. But ultimately, it is healthy. Spills out. It's part of the fun. For me, it's always been enjoyable. Console warring has always been just a feature and facet of it, and I enjoy it. And I know you now have been being really messy on Twitter, and I'm like, that's it, go on, just be messy. But understand that, we just human, man. It's human nature. I will never change. I don't care if people say, oh, you're being toxic. It's fine, but at least I'm entertaining. If I can make people laugh and have a good time, then I've done my job. But yeah,
and I need to lighten up. I need to lighten up because it's been 5 or 6 years of constant bombardment of people who don't like Xbox, and you never know if someone's just jabbing an elbow or not. I really need to lighten up, but it's also kind of gotten worse. So some of the terrible things people say.
I mean, you got to.
I feel if we were all in person,
Yeah, I mean, even in the next video, I'm sorry, Jason Schreier, but it's quite raw. But I would like you to think, I'd like to someone make a video on me and just call me out, and I'll come back and fire back. It's the way I brought up. It's always been the banter between my friends is raw, but we are still. One of my best friends is a little brother, is a PlayStation fanatic. Me and him go at it. You'd think we're just hurling abuse on each other, but he's my bro. I'll take a bullet for him. But it's part of the discourse. I'd like people to embrace it. I also see a lot of, and I won't name names, people in the community who have this stiff upper lip about, oh no, console warring, this and that, and I see Paris Lily do it, and I just think, okay, just stay in your lane, because my patience is grating with this virtue signaling. Nah,
I'm not going to ask people not to console war or whatever, because anything
very preachy when you're sitting there asking for free things. Is to me is don't. Well, you're not my dad.
My RDX friends were talking about people preaching about that stuff, right? And I'm like, it's one thing to say, don't console war, because that can come off as snobby or whatever, right? But the problem right now is harassing people personally, like personal attacks at other people, devs, industry, journalists, right? And it's been going on where you've got guys like, wait, journalists, don't use that word. But
it's calling me out there, but yeah, sorry.
Oh,
yeah, that's my ADHD. I mean, I'm sure I like Paris in real life, but you know,
you
like
and Dealer do that all the time. I'm not going to name names, but Jim is a real piece of crap. But what's going on right now is you've got developers who are making games. They're not out there fighting the console war. They're just trying to make the game, and they're getting harassed. And then you got people like me who make videos about information that I hope is close, and I'm a liar. But whatever. Don't feel sorry for me.
That's what this podcast is about. That's why we keep it real. You're very super nice. He is nice. And then you're, at the same time, you are a big Xbox fan. You want Xbox to do well. I want Xbox to do well. And we project that in different ways. And then I see that on the space. Some people who, really high and mighty about their reviews or their supposed impartiality, who are dangerous. People who get free stuff or beg for free stuff and then talk about what people can't say. That is more dangerous than me making fun of Jason Schreier, in my opinion, because that's satire. Yeah. Oh, how is it that these guys gatekeep discourse, tell people to behave a certain way, align themselves with corporations who then facilitate their voices, and then tell people to behave a certain way? Do this, don't do this. Do this, don't do this. And to give everyone speeches on how to behave. And then where's your free speech there? I'm doing satire. Yes, it's loaded. Yes, it's funny. But what? I'm not telling you or demanding you behave a certain way. But if you grow a big following and corporations, back you and send you free stuff, and you've got a big following and you have a platform where you say I guess it sort of aligns with an actress going up at the an actress going up at the Oscars and saying, this political stance is the political stance that everyone should have, right? We hate that, but you kind of get an ambassador, though. If you get somebody that's in the gaming community that has a big following and says, we shouldn't be doing that, and then people go, oh, maybe they're right. No, don't do that. Don't do this.
What does the free stuff have any bearance on whether
I'll give you an example. I won't mention names this time, but it's like, hey, it would be nice.
Dave says
it would be nice for me to get. You described Cole.
Since Cole described Gaz. No.
Don't be too heavy-handed on the moderating. But no, Cole is more real than you guys people. Cole, I just want you to be raw. I just want you to be just like say what you want on Twitter, but don't like people. I don't know, man. They can go both ways. There can be a healthy debate about it. But one thing I'm proud of with Game On Daily, with me and Acer, we're independent. No company owns us. We will say what we want when we want to say it. And that I take a massive pride in that. And then I see all these reviewers who will sometimes critique other reviewers, and then they're tagging the review in their review. And then they're obviously like, that's dangerous because you can't trust their review because they're bought out, whether you like it or not. Giving loads of games positive scores, it doesn't make you get a great reviewer. I see a lot of that in this space. I see a lot of that. I know I'm going on a tangent, but
I mean, that's up to you. That's up to you or me or whoever in the chat, right? Any of you in the chat. It's up to you. If it actually doesn't take very many game reviews before you realize, I don't align with that content creator on their reviews. I don't typically like the same things they like.
But
if you think someone is saying that, I get it all the time. I don't do many game reviews, but people think I gave Crackdown a 10. I gave it a 7.8, but I freaking loved it. I love that campaign. We weren't allowed to review the multiplayer. I love the campaign. I gave it 78 out of 100.
One. Yeah.
What was that? A B-? I loved it.
You loved it. That's personal. I
gave Halo Infinite's campaign a pretty high score. I gave Gears 5 a pretty high score. I really enjoyed it. I had an emotional moment at the end of Halo Infinite, but then after a little while, you go, "Hey, stop it." I felt for the pilot for a minute there. Whatever your name is, I already forgot.
Pilot. Yeah, anyway, exactly.
I don't know.
No, but
whatever. It's a review. It's a review.
It's fun.
As long as there's you got to have some sincerity there, I suppose. But like ACG, ACG's.
I love
Oh
ACG.
my! You and I had such a great time with him.
I need to
I
get
had
him
so
on my
much fun.
show. I love that guy.
He's amazing, and one of the reasons I don't follow ACG because no sponsorships or I don't particularly follow him because he has great which he does, great integrity. That's not the reason why I watch his reviews. Honestly, the reason why I watch his reviews because I end up liking a lot of the ones that he says he likes. And that's really how you should look at reviews. And I say you shouldn't use Metacritic. You should use your buddy, a reviewer, and a Metacritic number. Combine those together and make a $60 or $70 purchase. And somebody like ACG, he typically, hey, this is a buy. This is a play now, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I like that game too. And that just continues to happen. So you trust a reviewer. I think that's totally cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. And generally, like, that's why I like it. And there's so much there. And gaming discourse will change a lot. And we'll, you know, feel free to critique us. But
here's the thing I don't like is people saying you lied. The lies you give. It's like
this whole thing about you being on PlayStation, Xbox's paycheck, and you being like, and then obviously you pushed out a weird tweet saying, like, I'm like, dude, what's that guy, Woolly Gamer, who's just desperate for attention, just nibbling at your knees, and like, and obviously I wouldn't push the tweet the way you did, like, hey, I'm a flying up, but I know what you're trying to say. I'm like, you're just there talking nonsense, trying to get a bite. I'm actually doing something for the community. I'm going there and actually in the game. That's what you're trying to say, but. Yeah. For people, I know Colt, and I'll be real with you. You know, Colt is real. Like, he says everything he means it. What he says, like now you've seen. I will say this, Colt. For you to have me on your show, it's not exactly like that alone should tell everyone. And I'm not trying to make big myself up, but just say as my personality, and I don't. You know, you can. I think everyone, irrespective of whether you agree with me or not, I don't mince my words. There's a reason you've had me there. Obviously, you're a very good friend. You're one of my best friends, man. But it's also because that you're not averse to critique. You're not averse to real conversations, and we will rip Xbox apart if it deserves to be ripped apart, and we will praise it massively. Colt, you're an Xbox guy. You've done. I've had a couple of
guests on the show that the chat did not like being here, but I'm like. We can have a great discussion. And the funny thing is let's say you get a strong PlayStation, you know this all too well. You get a strong PlayStation personality on your show, and the truth just manifests. You realize somebody like Marlon Gaming is not who you think he is. He is a gaming fan. He loves the great things of Xbox that are most appealing to him, and he loves PlayStation. And that discourse comes out among the shows. You and Asa get discourse going. It's great as you get that conversation going.
I had Colin Moriarty on. I'd love to have Colin on again because I think we have a relationship has frayed a bit because I made that Source video, which I understand. And I'm like, like, please understand it in the spirit. I think you should be grateful that we're having a laugh.
There's one right here. Like someone said, Dreamcast is the worst guest I had on. I was really sick that day, but Dreamcast guy was great. We talked about a bunch of stuff that we liked Xbox. We had a little bit of critique, but most of the show was celebrating what the great trajectory Xbox was on over a year ago when they had a great E3. The chat was not cool. But he's a good guy, and these are all content creators. And I know we don't always agree with certain content creators, and there's Xbox guys that I don't agree with often, but sometimes you get a really good discussion, and it's tough to get people on your show. And for you guys, I just you just make up that other part I don't have because sometimes they're a little too tightly wound or too professional-ish or too nerdy or whatever. It's a good combo. I love having you on the show.
Your combo, you're a professional, and you'll entice people in, and you'll steer the conversation the right way. I'll be a bit of a loose cannon, but maybe I'll hopefully ask the hard questions. But to the chat, and I see that they're like, MBG. I come at MBG hard, but I really
love
think
to have him on. I'd
love to have MBG on. I would love to have MBG on. There's a very marked difference from MBG and then the clowns on the space, who I won't mention by name this time. Like, there's a big difference. MBG has pushed out some stupid tweets, in my opinion. And
Yeah,
in console
so
wars,
have
and he
I.
wants Xbox to fail. That's fine. But he's
Right.
very different from some of the clowns in the space. I can have a conversation with him, and I'm confident that if he came on Go
Yeah.
Live, we would have a good chat, or an XNC would have a good chat. And that's what this show is about. Just keeping it real.
It is, and I'll give credit to all of us because we're all thinking certain things, right? And we all have a very strong preference in what console we like or what type of games we like, right? And if somebody is counter to that, you feel threatened. And I know I feel that way. And if I had on a strong PlayStation personality, the chat would be like sandpaper. And I don't blame you. I don't normally do that. We have different things that we do on the show, but that preference for yes, and that preference to someone that says I like Gran Turismo way more than Forza, or I only like PlayStation games. It's tough. It's tough to hear because we're convicted and we really like what we like for a reason, and we stand up for it. It's our favorite team, right? So it's totally normal to feel that way. And when I get done with a show where I feel like the guest didn't like click in with the audience, I feel bad because I want to give you guys a really good show. And I think with Gaz, you get a little bit of everything.
With Gaz, all I see are people complaining, and I'm just like, good. And you know how much that spurs me on to be myself. But you know, you're right, and I think people need to understand that. Like, you know, it's not nice to, even if you have a guest and you hear complaints about people. I have fought the corner of some PlayStation content creators, and then who've actually backstabbed me and quote tweeted some stuff.
Sure, same.
Yeah. And if I saw them in real life, they get clapped. How dare you do something like that? Like, that's a betrayal. But in terms of like general, like, we have to kind of have that free flowing discourse. And I don't think you should rely on the big influencers. Like, we're like the ones who get free stuff and just talk about stuff, but don't have a real conversation.
Oh, if we just sat here and talked about how everything's going to be okay with Xbox, it wouldn't be a very enjoyable show. Like some of the critiques that we've all had about games have kind of straightened the course. Don Matrick in the chat with the $2 says, hit the like button or I'm going to come out of your Connect and slap you. Hit the like. If we can get up to 500, we're wrapping up. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Gaz, you've got a very busy week ahead. You never sleep. So this is a chance for you to promote what you and Ace are doing and what you're doing on your own for the channel, and tell people all that stuff and where they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. So we went to a bit of a tangent there, but just speaking out.
That's good.
Yeah, like UK Lad says, Gaz serves the best waffle. I do waffle. That's my ADHD, and I just speak freely. At least know that I don't fake anything. But generally, sorry, I distracted again. What was the question? Yeah, so what outro time. GameOnDaily.com. Please check it out. GameOnDaily.com was created by me and Asa to be an independent site that pulls news from all different sources, so you can then decide what's for you. So please, it's for a community, and if you're a content creator, we give you the tools to do that. On the platform. And YouTube channel is Game On Daily, one word. If you don't like critique about Xbox, don't watch my last video. But the next video, I will come after some of these, I will call them clowns because they behave like them. And they just need to be called out. So it's a part of the series called The Source, where mostly satire, but with some reality in there. It's not my birthday, Mike. But yeah, thank you so much, Cole. Thank you, everyone, and your generous super chats. All of you, Udani, keeping it real. Happy Bomb, as always. And we'll see you next week. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaz. I would like to get back on the circuit of making videos, just kind of waiting for something, I don't know. I want something I can really like dig into, and the news has been pretty quiet, and it will be quiet for a little bit. But like I said, I am excited about, I don't know. I just get excited about derpy games like Saints Row. I don't know. There's just some fun stuff that we're going to be playing, and I've been playing a bunch of No Man's Sky and a bunch of MLB, which is a super weird baseball kick I'm on again, since that's kind of how I was raised. But I will get back to making videos, and I really appreciate you guys stopping by on a Sunday to check out the show. We need 7 more likes to get to 500. If we do that, I will throw confetti up into my nostrils on the air. No, but I'm actually the only one who, besides his mom that knows when Gaz's actual birthday is. So I will let
He
you know
does.
when that happens, and we'll have a great celebration. Another friend of the community is having a birthday here in a couple days. I'll let you know when that happens as well. But thanks to everybody for your support. Thank you. This will be on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. I haven't had timestamps lately, but I think this one needs timestamps. So you should see those. And by now it's too late. You've already checked out the timestamps. This is on Google, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts and Pocket Podcasts. And we're going to get out of here and hit the outro. Have a great holiday. If you're in the U.S., please be safe. Don't blow off your fingers. And if you do, mail them to Gaz at P.O. Box 444 444 444 444. We're gonna get out of here.
That's the one.
I'm naked. That got on the air too.